Les réunions familiales sont synonymes de festivité. Mais il arrive qu'un hôte indésirable reste tapi dans l'ombre. À attendre patiemment une opportunité de s'inviter à la fête. Yale, dans le Michigan, est une ville au passé historique.
Yale est une petite ville d'une population d'environ 2000 habitants. C'est la ville parfaite pour fonder une famille. La criminalité y est faible. Les gens ne verrouillent pas leur maison ni leur voiture.
Une ville comme il en existe beaucoup d'autres.
Elle se trouve en pleine campagne. C'est une ville dans laquelle on trouve beaucoup de fermes et qui possède un joli petit centre-ville ancien. Une ville où il fait bon vivre.
Les gens y sont très chaleureux. Tous les habitants tondent leur pelouse, prennent soin de leur maison et vous saluent quand ils vous croisent.
On peut dire que j'ai eu une belle enfance. On partait faire du camping en été et on partageait beaucoup de moments en famille.
C'est une ville très calme.
Une ville paisible, où la famille Skinner a élu domicile. Paul, le patriarche de la famille, se passionne pour la commémoration des jours passés.
Paul Skinner était un membre actif de son église et de sa communauté. La famille et la religion étaient les deux piliers de sa vie.
I saw the trail marker, so I'm in the right place. This is northeast, so that's correct.
C'était quelqu'un d'affectueux, d'ouvert et d'honnête. C'était un homme incroyable.
Aujourd'hui, Paul et son épouse, Mara, se sont fixés pour objectif de mettre la main sur des souvenirs retraçant l'histoire de leur famille. Il y a des années, ils ont enterré une capsule temporelle et la mission du jour consiste à la retrouver.
Wow, I do not remember being this far.
Honey, we're lost.
Mara était une enseignante très appréciée de l'école publique de Yale. Les élèves, les professeurs et les habitants de la ville l'adoraient.
We're not going to find this thing. It's been years. I say we call it.
No. No way, no way. We made a promise. We're gonna find this, okay? Just let me check one more place.
La détermination de Mara est l'une des raisons pour lesquelles Paul l'aime tant.
En plus de ses cours, elle coachait l'équipe de course sur piste. C'était une excellente mère qui ne souhaitait que le meilleur pour ses enfants.
Honey, I found it! Right where we left it.
I can't believe it.
Oh.
If I recall, we're about 3 feet out from the base of the tree and maybe about 18 inches down or so.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Here, hang on, I want to take a picture.
Ils formaient un couple merveilleux. C'étaient de très bons parents. Mara aimait les enfants et elle était douée avec eux.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. It's like time stood still.
Ready?
Yep. Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
Your first bike.
Wow.
Paul et Mara sont faits l'un pour l'autre. Mais le couple ne serait pas réellement comblé sans leurs 4 enfants. Aaron est le premier à recevoir son cadeau de la capsule.
What's up, Dad?
Hey.
Mom just gave me the bike from the time capsule.
Yeah, how about that, huh? We also got the badge for your grandfather's motorcycle.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
Depuis toujours, Aaron voue une véritable passion pour la moto. Mais au moment de choisir sa voie, devenir mécanicien ne fait pas partie de ses projets.
Pour Aaron, les études étaient la clé du succès.
Does it fit?
Oh, yeah. Right there.
Looks just like this one.
Just about. Pretty close.
How often do you get to ride it?
Well, not as often as I'd like. That leads me into this. I want you to have the bike.
Are you serious?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes!
Your grandfather
yes,
always
what?
wanted you to have his passion for the motorcycle.
Aaron avait déménagé à Atlanta et c'était un gamin super.
Hey, sweetheart. Hi, Mom. I did not inherit your domestic gene. No.
Madeleine, 24 ans, est la fille aînée de la famille Skinner.
This is so hard and messy. That's okay because you inherited my brains. Hey, let me show you how to do this, okay? Oh, please do. It's not as hard as it looks.
Très proche de sa mère, Madeleine a encore beaucoup à apprendre pour devenir une parfaite mère de famille comme Mara.
And then you just got to get in there with your knife and start cutting away. You remember Grandma's chicken. She taught me how to do this.
Oh my goodness. Well, then I definitely have to learn so I can do it for my kids.
Hey, we can do this. Come on.
Okay, I'll try.
Go for it. Yeah, you got this.
Okay. Look at me.
Gonna
I am
pass-
domestic after all.
You're going to pass me up in the kitchen.
I think I'm doing good. Just if they say it's bad, you made it. I didn't.
Fine. I take full responsibility.
But if they love it,
okay. You know I got your back. It looks great, though.
thank you.
It looks really good.
Beginner's luck, you know?
Yeah, you always had that. I got something for you. Remember this?
This is my first grade ruler.
Yeah.
I used to measure all the things in the house.
I know.
I treated this as if this was my doll. I just had to like measure the triangles.
Yeah. That's my daughter.
Madeleine étudiait pour devenir assistante sociale. Elle avait de très bonnes notes, c'était une excellente élève et une fille adorable.
Jeff est le prochain à recevoir son cadeau. Et bien qu'il soit adopté, il semble avoir hérité de la gentillesse de sa mère.
C'est un garçon sensible et c'est le genre à rendre service à son prochain. Jeff travaille comme infirmier et vit à quelques heures de Yale.
It's the third time.
Mais aujourd'hui, il est de retour à la maison pour l'anniversaire de sa mère.
Your father and I found the old time capsule,
Oh, wow.
and we got you this. It's from 1925, the year your grandfather was born. He
That's
gave that to
amazing.
you on your first birthday.
What? You guys found this?
Yeah, out in the woods where we buried it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Guys, I have the chicken. All right, guys, dinner's ready. No thanks to Mom.
Madeleine, Aaron et Jeff étaient particulièrement proches étant donné qu'ils avaient peu de différence d'âge. Ils s'appréciaient beaucoup et leur relation était très saine.
Mais aucun n'est aussi proche de ses parents que le deuxième enfant adopté de la famille, Tia. Cette lycéenne pleine de vie est la seule à ne pas avoir quitté le cocon familial.
Tia faisait partie de la fanfare. Elle était au tableau d'honneur.
Tia faisait également partie du club de l'église méthodiste de Yale.
La famille Skinner était ravie à l'idée qu'elle aille à l'université.
Mais dernièrement, son attention se porte principalement sur son petit ami, Jonathan.
Tia était à l'âge où on commence à s'intéresser aux garçons et où on passe le plus clair de son temps à envoyer des textos à ses amis.
Tia,
Be right there.
I want to show you something.
You found the time capsule.
Yep, I got you a present. Come here.
I'm supposed to get you a gift. It's your birthday.
You remember this?
Oh my God. I haven't seen this in forever.
Tia avait toute l'attention de la famille. C'était la petite dernière de la fratrie et elle obtenait tout ce qu'elle voulait.
I don't think this is gonna fit. Thank you.
Okay, I gotta change. Hurry up, though. They're eating down there.
I got the cake.
Look at this.
À voir ce tableau, difficile d'imaginer cadre plus épanouissant.
L'ambiance dans la famille était vraiment agréable. Tous les enfants s'entendaient à merveille et c'est la chose pour laquelle j'admire le plus ma sœur.
To my life partner, today we celebrate family memories. Happy birthday, Mara. We love you.
Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday, Mom.
On aurait dit une famille sortie d'un conte de fées. Et ils menaient une vie idyllique.
Mais toute famille, aussi parfaite soit-elle, renferme des secrets. Et l'un des secrets des Skinner est sur le point de faire basculer le foyer dans l'horreur. Au beau milieu de la fête, Mara s'isole pour répondre à un appel de sa sœur Valérie, qui ne vit pas dans la région.
So good to hear your voice. Yeah, thanks for the call. I've had the best birthday. It's been amazing.
On s'appelait régulièrement pour parler de tout et de rien. On s'entendait très bien, ma sœur et moi.
Oh, thanks.
I didn't want to open this with everyone else.
Hey, I just got your gift. That is so sweet. Thank you. Oh, yeah, Tia got the journal. She says thanks. Oh, wait, there's something for Jeff? Hey, there's something from Val in here for you.
Mais tout le monde ne connaît pas la vérité sur Tati Valérie.
Tia et Jeff avaient un lien particulier parce qu'ils savaient tous les deux que j'étais leur mère. J'ai demandé à ma sœur de les élever parce que je n'étais pas en mesure de m'occuper de moi-même, et encore moins d'eux. Ça, c'est sûr.
Mara et Paul décident d'élever Tia et Jeff comme leurs propres enfants.
Elle a accueilli 2 enfants qui n'étaient pas les siens et les a aimés comme une vraie mère. Tout le monde n'en serait pas capable, je pense. Surtout qu'elle avait déjà 2 enfants à elle et qu'elle ne faisait aucune différence entre eux. Et Paul était quelqu'un de vraiment super. Il jouait son rôle de père à tout point de vue.
Cette situation peu conventionnelle convient à toute la famille. Jusqu'au jour où Valérie annonce une nouvelle terrifiante à sa sœur Mara.
Bye.
What is it? Is everything all right?
Mara explique que le père biologique de Tia, Arthur, vient d'être libéré de prison.
C'était un dealer de drogue. Il a fait l'objet de plusieurs inculpations. Quand j'ai eu Tia, j'ai vécu l'enfer avec lui et j'ai décidé de dire stop. Un jour, il s'est absenté plusieurs heures et je suis partie avec Tia. Malheureusement, quand Arthur est sorti de prison, il a appris que Tia habitait chez Mara. Et il a menacé de s'en prendre à Mara et de ne pas la laisser tranquille jusqu'à ce qu'il récupère Tia.
Okay, I thought you guys had already figured that out.
It was something that was arranged between Mara and Valerie.
So it's been a secret this whole time?
Not a secret. We didn't want him to know where you were, just in case he started making threats.
All right, guys, I think we're all cleaned up.
Grab a seat, son. We need to talk about something.
C'était une situation épouvantable. Ils avaient toutes les raisons d'avoir peur.
Cependant, il arrive qu'un danger connu vaille mieux qu'un danger qui reste à connaître. Bien qu'elle ne le sache pas encore, la famille Skinner est déjà en proie aux forces obscures. Des forces qui pourraient s'avérer meurtrières.
She's late. She should have been home an hour ago.
I don't like that she's not answering her cell phone.
You know, I have half a mind to take that thing away from her.
Mara et Paul Skinner élèvent leur nièce Tia et leur neveu Jeff comme leurs propres enfants depuis des années. Mais depuis qu'Arthur, le père biologique de Tia, a été relâché de prison, les parents craignent pour la sécurité de leur fille adoptive et Mara prend des mesures drastiques.
Hi, my name is Mara Skinner. My husband Paul and I, we'd like to report a possible threat.
Mara a contacté la police de Yale pour tout leur expliquer. Elle l'a fait pour se protéger elle et pour protéger ses enfants. Elle savait de quoi cet homme était capable.
Cette fois, Tia rentre saine et sauve.
Tia, where have you been? You were supposed to be home an hour ago.
Your mother's been worried sick.
I don't know why you're freaking out. I'm fine.
Okay, well, you still haven't told us where you were.
I was at my friend Julie's house. We were studying. Sorry.
Tia, next time check in with us.
No, next time you pull this, you're grounded.
Après des semaines passées à l'affût du moindre danger, le père de Tia n'a toujours pas refait surface. Et à Halloween, la menace est presque oubliée.
I'm gonna teach you how to carve a jack-o'-lantern.
Okay.
Okay, now first off, you need to start with a nice fresh pumpkin.
One that has a flat bottom so that it doesn't roll away.
Okay, and then what you want to do
Just
is
cut at an angle instead of going straight down, because otherwise the lid might fall right down to the bottom.
all right. And then next you need to scoop out everything inside. Now
You
I
like
like
to use an ice cream scoop, but sometimes you use this big old serving dinner spoon.
Oh my God, Jonathan, don't do that! Oh my God, you scared the life out of me.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Skinner, I didn't mean to.
Jonathan, don't ever do that again, okay?
Hey, he was just kidding.
Tia sortait avec Jonathan Kurtz.
I apologize. Seriously.
Madame Skinner avait connu ce jeune homme à l'école. C'était son enseignante au collège.
Madame Skinner ne portait pas vraiment Jonathan Kurtz dans son cœur. Pour être honnête, c'était un peu un bon à rien.
Mara ne voyait pas leur relation d'un bon œil. Elle n'appréciait pas beaucoup M. Kurtz et elle n'aimait pas non plus son cercle d'amis.
Okay, Tia, it's late. I think it's time to call it a night.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries, it's okay. I'll see you later.
Yeah, okay.
Tia, come on, it's late.
Bye.
I don't want you seeing Jonathan anymore.
What, are you serious?
Elle a demandé à Tia de rompre avec Jonathan et de lui dire qu'il n'avait plus le droit de se voir.
Okay. Fine.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mara pense avoir réglé le problème. Mais elle va bientôt comprendre que c'est une grave erreur de jugement. Quelques jours plus tard, Tia et Jonathan reprennent leur flirt par SMS interposé.
Quand des ados décident de se parler, ils trouvent toujours le moyen de communiquer.
Et pour quelqu'un qui fait fi des règles de sa mère, Tia n'est pas des plus discrètes.
Dans le portable de Tia, Madame Skinner découvre des textos de John et comprend que Tia n'a pas rompu avec lui.
Elle décide qu'il est grand temps de sévir.
What are you doing?
Give me back my phone.
No, you're not getting this back. I told you I didn't want you seeing Jonathan anymore.
I need my phone.
If you need a phone, you can use the house phone. You should have thought of this before.
Please.
Pour une adolescente, c'est le seul moyen d'être en contact avec l'extérieur. Et ça a beaucoup contrarié Tia.
L'ambiance au sein du foyer étant plus pesante que jamais, Aaron, Madeleine et Jeff cherchent à apaiser les tensions entre leur sœur et leur mère.
Hey, Tia, why haven't you been responding to my texts? Why don't you ask them?
Boy trouble?
They think so.
Sneaking behind your parents' back is a little bit more than boy trouble.
What do you call going into my room and reading my text messages?
I call it parenting.
Mom, that's spying.
Jeff décide de prendre la défense de Tia dans le conflit qui l'oppose à sa mère. Et Tia lui en est reconnaissante. Elle a besoin de soutien à ce moment-là.
Well, Mom, you trusted Tia with other things. Why not this one?
Admit it, Mom. You didn't love everything Aaron and I did.
You two weren't running with the wrong crowd.
As far as you knew.
I mean, we didn't have cell phones for you to be spying.
Mara accepte que Tia récupère son téléphone portable à une seule condition. Elle doit couper les ponts avec son petit ami Jonathan.
Elle tenait à instaurer des règles et à ce que les choses se déroulent de la façon qu'elle souhaitait.
Okay. You win.
La paix semble à nouveau régner chez les Skinner. Mais une lame de 20 cm ne va pas tarder à couper court à cette accalmie. Deux semaines plus tard, un appel bouleversé émane en pleine nuit de la maison des Skinner.
Hello, 911. This is 911. Tell me exactly what happened. You need an ambulance there now. I'm in the ER, nurse, but I can't handle by myself. You need to tell me now.
J'ai été informé qu'une attaque au couteau était en cours. Je me suis rendu sur les lieux avec 2 adjoints et on est entré par la porte principale. Monsieur Skinner était allongé au sol. Jeff était en train de comprimer les blessures sur la poitrine de son père.
2 policiers se rendent à l'étage, tandis que Todd contrôle l'état de santé de Paul.
Il était couvert de sang. Il avait reçu plusieurs coups de couteau au niveau de la poitrine.
À l'étage, l'horreur continue.
Les adjoints fouillaient les lieux pour trouver d'autres victimes ou des suspects potentiels. Et ils sont tombés sur Madame Skinner dans sa chambre.
Son cœur bat encore, mais à peine. Au rez-de-chaussée, Paul peine à communiquer avec la police.
Paul a du mal à respirer, mais parvient à expliquer qu'il s'est fait attaquer.
Il déclare qu'il y avait 2 agresseurs. Ils portaient des cagoules et les ont attaqués, lui et sa femme. Il a réussi à se lever et à pousser les agresseurs à s'enfuir.
Seulement,
Monsieur Skinner est mort dans sa cuisine.
à l'étage, Mara a perdu connaissance et se trouve dans un état critique.
Madame Skinner est immédiatement amenée à l'hôpital.
2 parents agressés dans leur lit.
C'est incompréhensible.
Les enquêteurs présents sur les lieux trouvent un premier indice.
Ils trouvent des couteaux dans l'escalier et pensent que les agresseurs les ont lâchés en prenant la fuite.
Check out that kitchen.
Mais les policiers vont faire une découverte surprenante.
Right here.
Wow.
Got a couple knives missing.
Les armes découvertes sur les lieux venaient de la cuisine.
That's from the same set.
It's like a match.
Absolutely.
Les agresseurs connaissaient les lieux ou quelqu'un les avait informés.
You guys just take a look around and just find some more evidence.
Les policiers n'ont encore aucune idée de l'identité des auteurs de ce massacre. Mais un second appel pourrait bien leur offrir les réponses tant espérées.
What is going on?
Paul et Mara Skinner se sont fait agresser en pleine nuit. Paul est décédé et la vie de Mara ne tient qu'à un fil. Les enquêteurs criminels décident alors de se tourner vers le fils adoptif, Jeff. Jeff rapporte les événements qui ont précédé l'attaque.
On pouvait dire qu'il était très calme. Il ne montrait aucune émotion. Mais cela pouvait être dû au fait qu'il était en état de choc. Chacun a sa propre façon de réagir au drame.
Jeff explique qu'il est en visite pour le week-end.
Jeff, qui habite dans le nord-ouest du Michigan, était rentré plus tôt pour faire une surprise à ses parents.
Jeff déclare alors qu'à la fin de la soirée, ses parents sont montés se coucher. Et sa sœur et lui sont descendus au sous-sol pour regarder la télé.
Tia et Jeff discutent. Ça fait un moment qu'ils ne se sont pas vus.
Jusqu'à ce qu'un bruit vienne les interrompre.
Un peu avant minuit, Tia et Jeff entendent des bruits à l'étage. Une porte qui claque, des bruits de pas.
Jeff décide de monter à l'étage. Il tombe sur un homme couvert de sang et prend conscience qu'il s'agit de son père. Étant infirmier, Jeff a reçu une formation aux premiers secours et commence à s'occuper de son père.
Mais les blessures de Paul sont bien trop graves. Alarmée par les bruits terrifiants provenant de l'étage, Tia décide également d'appeler la police.
911, what's the location of your emergency? What is your name? Ma'am? What is going on? I don't know. I'm not in the basement. Okay, ma'am, I need you to take a deep breath for me, okay? Okay. Okay, what is going on? What? What is going on? I don't want to go upstairs. My brother's sleeping downstairs. My dad's screaming and my brother's talking. I don't know what's going on. So you're downstairs? Yes, I don't want to go upstairs. I'm too afraid. Okay, what is your name? Tia Skinner. Tia? Okay, and you're downstairs? Yes. Okay, and what is your brother saying? Your brother's helping your mom and dad? Yes. Is there anybody else in the house? My dad and my mom. Your dad and your mom, that's it? I heard loud footsteps and my dad screaming, and then I yelled to my brother to help, go help him. Okay. Oh my God.
Dad, I'm right here.
Tia était inquiète pour sa mère.
Tia, what are you... Go downstairs, go!
Jeff envoie Tia chez les voisins.
Madame Skinner, qui est dans un état moins critique, dit à Jeff d'aller s'occuper de son père.
C'est alors que Jeff appelle la police, qui arrive peu de temps après. Si l'histoire de Jeff semble cohérente, les policiers ne peuvent s'empêcher de douter de sa véracité.
C'était étrange que Jeff ne soit pas arrivé à temps pour voir les agresseurs. Et on trouvait surprenant que, malgré le fait qu'il exerce le métier d'infirmier, il ne soit pas parvenu à stopper l'hémorragie de son père.
Mais avant de mourir, Paul a bien indiqué la présence de 2 agresseurs cagoulés. Les policiers se rendent donc chez les voisins pour voir si Tia confirmera la version de son frère, Jeff.
Une fois le périmètre sécurisé, je suis allé voir Tia Skinner dans la maison voisine. Elle était terrifiée, très tendue, et je l'ai interrogée sur ce qu'elle avait vu, fait ou entendu au cours de la soirée.
La déclaration de Tia concorde avec celle de Jeff, mais rien n'exclut que les frères et sœurs soient de mèche. Afin d'écarter tout soupçon des enquêteurs, Tia les aiguille vers un suspect potentiel.
La police apprend que le père biologique de Tia, Arthur Mitchell, n'était pas satisfait des modalités de garde.
I know he was really angry and he was trying to track them down.
Fort de cette découverte, les enquêteurs interrogent la mère biologique de Tia.
Ils m'ont contacté pour savoir où était Arthur. Je n'en revenais pas. Je n'arrivais pas à croire qu'il était capable de s'emparer de mes enfants ou de s'en prendre à eux.
It's not easy being married to a guy with a violent streak. You know, somebody who's so hate-filled.
Arthur s'est occupé de Tia lorsqu'elle était encore bébé. Et je savais quel genre de personne il était. Je l'avais vu frapper des gens et j'étais moi-même victime de ses coups. C'était quelqu'un d'extrêmement violent. Je leur ai donné toutes les informations que j'avais sur Arthur. C'était un homme capable du pire.
Les enquêteurs travaillent d'arrache-pied pour localiser le dangereux père de Tia. Et à mesure qu'ils élargissent leurs recherches, de curieux indices sont révélés au grand jour.
No footprints, no broken plants. It's like they knew right where to go and headed straight for the kitchen.
I think you're right.
Devant la maison, on a découvert un morceau de papier sur la pelouse. Il s'agissait d'une carte du quartier dessinée à la main. Et la maison des Skinner était marquée d'une croix. Cette découverte nous a confirmé que les victimes n'avaient pas été choisies au hasard.
La personne qui avait dessiné cette carte connaissait bien les lieux.
Le lendemain matin, les deux aînés de la famille, Madeleine et Aaron, s'empressent de revenir à Yale. Bien qu'ils soient dévastés par la nouvelle, ils sont déterminés à faire avancer l'enquête. Ils possèdent tous deux de solides alibis qui les placent à des kilomètres du foyer familial au moment de l'agression. Les enquêteurs les interrogent alors sur des querelles ayant eu lieu au sein de la famille. Et Madeleine se confie.
Les enquêteurs lui ont demandé si elle connaissait quelqu'un qui pourrait avoir un mobile, quelqu'un qui en voudrait à ses parents. Et elle a expliqué que Tia et sa mère s'étaient disputées à plusieurs reprises au sujet de Jonathan Kurtz.
Jonathan, le garçon que Mara avait interdit à Tia de voir.
Avec un collègue, on s'est rendu au domicile de Jonathan Kurtz.
I was devastated when I heard about the attack.
How'd you hear about it?
It's a small town. News travels quickly.
Tia didn't tell you?
No. Tia and I weren't talking. We decided to take a break from each other.
D'après Jonathan, ça faisait déjà plusieurs semaines qu'ils ne se voyaient plus, donc pourquoi aurait-il agressé ses parents?
À ses yeux, ils n'étaient même pas vraiment ensemble. Ils se fréquentaient, s'embrassaient, ce genre de choses, mais pour lui, ils ne formaient pas un couple.
Sans compter que Jonathan a un alibi.
Yeah, I plan on taking this truck to college next year, so I gotta keep it good for the next 4.
Well, the key is regular oil changes then.
Jonathan déclare que le soir de l'agression, il réparait la voiture de son ami James.
Les enquêteurs se procurent les données téléphoniques de Tia et Jonathan pour déterminer la vraie nature de leur relation. Pendant ce temps, la police contacte celui qui peut confirmer l'alibi de Jonathan, James Preston.
So James, how do you know Jonathan?
We hang out. Our parents know each other, so we've been buddies for a long time.
Do you know Tia?
Cette maison ne ressemble pas à un repère de tueur.
I like that sign.
Football coach gave that to us. He said it keeps you humble and reminds you how little you really know.
James Preston était quelqu'un de très apprécié au sein de la communauté. Il jouait dans des équipes de football américains réputées et faisait aussi partie des scouts.
Les enquêteurs posent des questions à James sur ses activités des 2 derniers jours.
Just the usual stuff. School, football practice. The night you did the oil change, that was the only night you were with Jonathan? Yeah, only night.
Dans sa déposition, James déclare également qu'il travaillait sur son véhicule avec Jonathan.
The key is regular oil changes then.
That's why I asked you to teach me how to do them.
They're easy enough.
All right, thank you for your time. We'll be in touch.
Sa version corroborait celle de Jonathan.
Les garçons confirmant chacun leur histoire, les enquêteurs sont une nouvelle fois dans l'impasse et encore bien loin de démasquer le véritable tueur. Tia, la fille adoptive, s'est-elle vengée d'un désaccord familial? Jeff était-il assez proche de sa sœur pour devenir son complice? Arthur, le père biologique de Tia, était-il prêt à tuer pour récupérer sa fille? Ou Jonathan, l'ancien petit ami de Tia, et son ami James, ont-ils commis un meurtre pour un amour de jeunesse? Le mal a pris racine à Yale, dans le Michigan, et un sombre secret est sur le point d'être mis au jour. Les enquêteurs de Yale, dans le Michigan, s'évertuent à élucider l'affaire de Paul et Mara Skinner. Et ils ne sont pas déçus en fouillant le domicile parental de Jonathan.
Can I ask what this is about?
It's part of our routine investigation into the Skinner attacks.
À la suite des dépositions de Jonathan et James, on a obtenu un mandat pour fouiller leur domicile et leur véhicule.
Okay, I already told you I have an alibi. I was at my friend James' house working on a truck the whole night.
En fouillant les lieux, les policiers découvrent un sac.
Have a look at this. I found a ski mask.
Similaire aux cagoules mentionnées par la victime.
Belong to you, Jonathan?
No, I've never seen that in my life.
Photograph it, bag it with everything.
Sure thing.
Jonathan ne semblait pas inquiet, mais la cagoule est devenue une preuve.
Une fouille est ensuite effectuée sur la propriété de James. Et les choses se précisent.
Got something.
Lors de la perquisition du véhicule de James, on a trouvé un mot manuscrit.
C'était une note qui listait différentes instructions et qui donnait des informations sur les caractéristiques de la maison. C'était une découverte pour le moins déroutante.
Looks like someone choreographed what happened that night.
Nothing much left to the imagination. So where to enter the house where the knives are in the kitchen.
Après avoir trouvé cette preuve accablante, les enquêteurs convoquent Jonathan et James pour un interrogatoire plus poussé.
Dans la police, on utilise une technique classique qui consiste à séparer les témoins pour discuter des événements avec chacun d'entre eux.
Les enquêteurs confrontent Jonathan au message trouvé dans le véhicule de son ami. Et cette fois-ci, son discours a changé.
Jonathan avoue qu'il en voulait en particulier à Madame Skinner, parce qu'elle interdisait à sa fille de sortir avec lui.
Tia, it's late. Come on.
Je pense que ça l'a rongé de se faire évincer de la sorte.
De l'autre côté du couloir, James fait également un aveu incriminant.
Quand la police l'interroge, il finit par tomber le masque. Il avoue que c'est Jonathan qui l'a embrigadé dans cette histoire et qu'il n'était pas contre l'idée de lui donner un coup de main parce qu'il pensait qu'il devait simplement faire peur aux Skinner.
James déclare que la situation a dégénéré.
En interrogeant respectivement les deux hommes, les enquêteurs parviennent à reconstituer le déroulement des événements de ce samedi soir.
Jonathan finit par admettre que ce soir-là, il se trouvait chez les Skinner avec James.
Les deux hommes utilisent une brique de lait pour empêcher la fenêtre de se refermer, éventrent la moustiquaire, et pénètrent dans la maison.
Ils prennent les couteaux dans la cuisine.
Ils montent à l'étage et trouvent les parents couchés dans leur lit. Ils s'avancent chacun d'un côté du lit et commencent à poignarder les parents.
Paul se réveille et parvient à allumer la lumière.
Lorsque la lumière s'allume, les assaillants s'arrêtent.
Paul lutte vaillamment pour protéger son épouse.
Paul les poursuit dans l'escalier et les suspects sortent par la porte d'entrée.
En entendant ce raffut, Jeff quitte le sous-sol pour en savoir plus. Et Monsieur Skinner s'effondre au sol.
Les enquêteurs pensent avoir enfin mis au clair toute cette affaire. Mais rongé par la culpabilité, le petit ami de Tia a un dernier aveu à faire.
Jonathan déclare que l'idée venait de Tia. C'est elle qui a échafaudé le plan, qui a dessiné la carte et qui leur a donné les instructions et les informations nécessaires pour passer à l'acte.
Tia devait leur donner $1000 chacun.
La police finit par obtenir les données téléphoniques des 3 adolescents.
Les textos échangés par Tia, Jonathan et James étaient bourrés de détails sur le crime et indiquaient la façon dont ils comptaient procéder.
C'est tout simplement stupéfiant de voir que des gamins sont capables de commettre un tel acte. Mais les preuves étaient on ne peut plus accablantes.
Face aux enquêteurs, la cadette de la famille Skinner comprend que la voie est sans issue.
Tia sait qu'elle est fichue. Elle fait des aveux complets.
Give me back my phone.
Les parents de Tia estimaient que M. Kurtz n'était pas assez bien pour sortir avec leur fille. Donc Tia voulait les voir mourir.
Elle leur a dit de venir à 23 heures, l'heure où tout devait se dérouler. Elle voulait en finir. Elle a préparé les couteaux et leur a signalé qu'ils pouvaient passer à l'acte.
Tout cela pendant que Tia occupait son frère au sous-sol. Tia, Jonathan et James sont tous 3 inculpés du meurtre de Paul Skinner et de la tentative de meurtre de son épouse, Mara. Après une courte délibération, le jury déclare les 3 individus coupables.
Tia Skinner est condamnée à perpétuité sans possibilité de libération conditionnelle. Jonathan Kurtz est condamné à perpétuité sans possibilité de libération conditionnelle. Et James Preston est condamné à perpétuité sans possibilité de libération conditionnelle.
Quant à Arthur, le père biologique de Tia, il s'avère qu'il est mort noyé peu de temps après avoir été relâché de prison. La date de sa mort n'est que pure coïncidence. Mara, la mère de Tia, finit par se rétablir et réintègre le domicile familial. Mais aujourd'hui, le terme « familial » n'a plus la même résonance.
That's the mark your father made it the first time we ever came here. I love you, babe.
Tout le monde a été perdant dans cette histoire. Tout le monde. Paul, malheureusement, ne sera plus jamais parmi nous. Et la vie de ma sœur ne sera plus jamais la même. La mort de Paul est une tragédie. Vraiment. Ça fend le cœur. Et on ne peut pas revenir en arrière.
The night the desert swallowed her, the air over northern Nevada was unnervingly still, the kind of stillness that makes your skin tighten because you know something is coming, something you can't see yet, but can feel crawling toward you through the darkness. It began with a single set of tire tracks, cutting across a gravel turnout along State Route 447, a lonely stretch of road where headlights seem to vanish into the void, and even the wind refuses to whisper. Locals would later say they felt it immediately. Something wrong, something sour in the atmosphere. Before the story surfaced, before the headlines erupted, before the phrase, Nevada 1998 cold case etched itself into the state's memory like a scar no one could cover. She disappeared between one heartbeat and the next, leaving behind nothing but a stalled rumor drifting through the sagebrush and a shadow that wouldn't fade for 26 long years. Her name was Allison Hartley, a 19-year-old college sophomore heading home from Reno after a weekend visiting friends. Straight-A student, quiet smile, a girl who never made waves. But sometimes the desert doesn't choose victims based on chaos. Sometimes it chooses the calm ones, the predictable ones, the ones who won't see danger until it's already standing in front of them. She left Reno at 8:43 p.m. As shown on a gas station receipt, investigators would later study under fluorescent lights like priests reading an omen. She called her mother at 9:02, said traffic was light, said she'd be home by 11. She never made it. The search began as a family worry, the kind that starts small, coiling in the gut, then tightens into panic when minutes stretch too long. By morning, her car was found abandoned on that isolated turnout. Driver's door unlocked, keys missing, a single sneaker on the passenger side floor. No footprints, no signs of a struggle. Just emptiness, carved sharp and clean, as if the desert itself had reached up and taken her without leaving a trace. Deputies walked in widening circles around the site, boots crunching over gravel, voices crackling through radios. But all they found was silence. The kind of silence that feels manufactured, like someone carefully wiped the world clean. The press seized on it, unleashing bold black letters across front pages. Mysterious disappearance stuns Nevada community. Cold case fears rise as search expands. Each headline struck like a hammer, amplifying fear, feeding speculation, turning Allison into a symbol rather than a person. Rumors twisted through neighborhoods. Strangers on the highway, wrong place, wrong time. Maybe she ran away, maybe she staged it. But the car door unlocked, and the lone sneaker crushed those theories. Something had happened. Something deliberate. Investigators combed through registration logs, gas station surveillance tapes, credit card swipes, every milepost along that bleak corridor of highway. They interviewed truckers, drifters, tourists, locals who'd been within 20 miles of the area that night. Nobody saw her. Nobody heard anything. The desert kept its secrets wrapped tight. A detective later admitted off the record that it felt like chasing a ghost through an empty world. Her family begged for answers on live television, their voices trembling, eyes hollow. Volunteers fanned out across miles of scrubland, helicopters scanned for disturbances in the dirt. Cadaver dogs sniffed the ground as if trying to pull the story upward from the dust. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and eventually the case slid into that quiet, dreaded category, unsolved, cold, sealed by uncertainty. The community moved on, or pretended to, but the void where Allison should have been never closed. Years passed, faces changed, detectives retired, fields yellowed, but one piece of evidence remained sealed in a narrow envelope inside a climate-controlled vault. A faint smudge lifted from the inside of Allison's car door. Not blood, not hair, just a partial DNA trace so degraded it was nearly useless. An artifact from 1998 technology, catalogued, stored, and forgotten as new cases swallowed the state's attention. For decades, it sat there like a dormant heartbeat, waiting for something the investigators of '98 couldn't imagine. But back then, in the first months after her disappearance, hope still flickered. Deputies returned to the turnout repeatedly, trying to reimagine her final moments. They traced her car's path, noting the absence of skid marks, the lack of forced entry, the eerie neatness of it all. Whatever happened had happened fast. Controlled. Clean. As if the perpetrator planned it or had done something similar before. Locals whispered about a truck seen idling near the area earlier that night, its tail lights blinking through the darkness like eyes watching, waiting. But the witness couldn't describe the driver, couldn't recall a plate, couldn't even swear the truck was there at the right time. It was just a shape on the road. A ghost. A possibility swallowed by the margins of memory. Detectives pulled receipts from every bar, motel, diner, and truck stop within a 40-mile radius. They examined handwritten ledgers, cross-referenced check-ins, reviewed hours of grainy VHS security footage where figures moved like smudges. Nothing. It was as if Allison had stepped into a crack in reality. a vanishing without logic. Her belongings were processed meticulously. Backpack zipped, wallet intact, notes from her classes folded neatly. Nothing stolen, nothing out of place, except her phone, which records indicated stayed active for 2 hours after her disappearance before going dark somewhere along the highway, pinging off a tower that serviced an area so wide investigators practically choked on frustration. If the phone had been tossed from a moving vehicle, the desert swallowed it without mercy. In the early days, investigators entertained theories they later regretted even speaking aloud. A sudden decision to leave her old life behind. A panic attack. An encounter with wildlife. A misstep leading to a fall into a ravine. Each theory dissolved under scrutiny. There were no tracks leading away from the car, no signs she wandered voluntarily, no injuries on the earth, no personal turmoil in her life. She hadn't planned an escape. She had planned to go home. As the months crept forward, Allison's story became a quiet haunting in northern Nevada. Her photo hung in post offices, supermarkets, bus stops. Her mother drove the route every week, leaving flowers near the turnout and whispering into the wind as if her daughter could hear her across the dust. Reporters tried to revive the case on slow news days, calling it Nevada's most chilling cold case. But without new evidence, the story withered. Only the family kept it alive, gripping the threads of hope even as they frayed. The desert, in its vast indifference, erased what little trace remained. Tire tracks faded. Weather peeled layers of paint from signs near the road. The turnout became just another patch of gravel no one paid attention to, unless they knew what had happened there, unless they felt the weight of it settle on their shoulders like a shadow. Yet behind closed doors at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, a few detectives refused to let the file die. One of them, Detective Raymond Cole, kept a framed map of the route pinned to his office wall. Red circles marked every point of interest. Blue pins indicated sightings. Yellow notes cluttered the edges, each handwritten in small, tight script. He revisited the case every anniversary, even when his colleagues rolled their eyes, even when superiors suggested reallocating his time. Something about the case gnawed at him, the precision, the silence, the way the evidence seemed intentionally erased. Cole once described the case as a scream swallowed by the desert. 26 years later, that scream still echoed in his mind. By the early 2000s, the case file ballooned to hundreds of pages. Interviews, photographs, sketches, maps, timelines, witness statements, false leads, anonymous tips scrawled in frantic handwriting. Some claimed to see a girl matching Allison's description in Utah. Others reported similar highway encounters, headlights flashing behind them, a figure stepping into the road, a stranger knocking on windows late at night. Most were dismissed as coincidences or fabrications, but they fed the mythos surrounding the disappearance. The story morphed into campfire lore, whispered among teens daring each other to visit the turnout after midnight. But beneath the sensationalism, a truth remained. Nobody knew what happened. The Cold Case Unit reopened the file twice, in 2008 and again in 2014, hoping advancements in technology might change the odds. Each time, the DNA trace was re-examined, but the sample was too degraded, too faint, too broken. It was like trying to rebuild a shattered fingerprint out of dust. Disappointment piled high, suffocating what hope remained. Still, the envelope stayed sealed inside its vault. Unremarkable. Unimportant. A relic from a time when DNA science was in its adolescence, barely capable of whispering answers, let alone shouting them. As the years approached the 26th anniversary, the Hartley family prepared for another solemn ritual, lighting candles, sharing stories, enduring the empty chair at the dinner table. They no longer expected miracles. They no longer expected answers. They expected silence, the same silence that had wrapped around the case from day one. But fate doesn't always move in straight lines. Sometimes it loops back, circling old wounds, digging them open with new force. And sometimes the smallest fragment, the kind stored in a forgotten envelope, can erupt into something explosive. This story begins in the desert. It begins with silence, but it will not stay silent, because in 2024, when the vault was opened for routine evidence transfer, that forgotten envelope resurfaced, and with it, the first tremor of the shock that would rattle Nevada to its core. The envelope emerged with the kind of simplicity that makes detectives nervous, the kind of simplicity that feels staged by fate or something colder. A technician slid the pale packet across a metal table during inventory, expecting nothing more than paperwork and routine signatures. But when the name Hartley Allison, 1998, surfaced in faded ink, the room shifted. Conversations paused, glances sharpened. The air thickened in that way it does when ghosts decide to move. The sample inside, barely the size of a grain of sand, had spent 26 years waiting for a world advanced enough to understand it. And now that world existed. No one knew that within hours, that dust-like trace would become the spark of a story, brutal enough to fracture old assumptions and loud enough to force open doors long shut. For now, it remained a quiet possibility, a pulse beneath still water. Detective Cole felt something ignite the second he held the envelope. His hands trembled, not from age, though he had more grey now than he liked to admit, but from recognition. It was the same envelope he had stared at countless times, the same envelope he had once believed would break open the desert's silence. And now, returned to the surface, it demanded attention with a force that felt supernatural. The sample was sent to the State Forensics Lab, then forwarded to a national facility specializing in ultra-degraded DNA. Machines far more sophisticated than anything available in 1998 hummed to life, coaxing the broken strands into patterns, aligning fragments like shards of shattered glass. It took hours, then days. The process was slow, delicate, maddening. But something began to form. First a partial profile, then a clearer outline, as if a face was emerging from the fog. Meanwhile, memories of Allison's case rippled back into the community like a storm surfacing from old waters. Reporters who hadn't uttered her name in years dug through archives, searching for the story that once captivated the state. Neighbors felt a pinch of dread in their gut, the kind that comes when history threatens to return with teeth. And the Hartley family, after decades of waiting, found themselves pulled back toward a grief they had never fully escaped. Still, no one imagined the twist waiting at the end of the DNA sequencing. Not yet. For now, everything moved quietly, under the hum of fluorescent lights, behind closed lab doors, inside computer servers crunching data with machine precision. It was the calm before a detonation. While scientists worked, Cole drifted back to the old case file spread across his kitchen table. He often found himself staring into the pages late at night, the glow of a single lamp outlining the mess of photographs and handwritten notes. There was the turnout, empty and bleak, captured from angles that made it look like a throat ready to swallow anything that stepped too close. There was Allison's smiling face, frozen at 19. There were the lists of suspects, some ridiculous, some hauntingly plausible, each crossed out, eliminated, discarded. But one thing always bothered him, the near-perfect silence surrounding the crime. Most disappearances leave echoes, a witness, a neighbor, a passerby, a camera, a sound, something. But Allison vanished as if pulled out of the world by an invisible hand. Clean, controlled, fast. It was too fast. Cole sat alone at his table, knuckles tight around a coffee mug gone cold, replaying every detail. Her car's location, the untouched contents, the single missing key, the phone's vanishing signal, the sneaker on the floor. Each clue was a whisper, and he was listening again, trying to hear what he had missed. The desert outside Reno had its own ways of hiding stories. Sandstorms, scavengers, time. But even nature rarely wiped a scene so completely. Someone had done this. Someone who understood the terrain, understood the timing, understood how to appear and disappear without leaving a footprint. The lab finally called on a Thursday morning at 7:14 a.m., a moment Cole would replay for the rest of his life. He answered before the second ring, heart pounding. The technician's voice was steady, clinical, unaware of the emotional weight behind the words. "We've extracted a viable profile," she said, "and it's yielding a match." Cole's breath caught. A match. After 26 years of nothing. But then her tone shifted. "The profile, it's unusual. A pause, a shuffle of papers, a soft exhale. It appears connected to an existing entry. Not a full match, but a familial link. A strong one. Familial. Cold cases rarely get that kind of luck." Cole's pulse quickened. "We're sending the full report shortly," she added. "But preliminary results indicate the relative is male, currently incarcerated, and was added to the national database less than a decade ago." The floor seemed to tilt beneath Cole's feet. A prisoner. A relative. A connection hidden in plain sight for years. He scribbled notes furiously as the technician continued, but one phrase hit him like a blunt strike. "This DNA fragment, it should not exist in that car unless the perpetrator had direct contact with the interior." That was the confirmation he had waited a lifetime to hear. The evidence wasn't contamination. It wasn't accidental transfer. It was deliberate, real, the first solid thread in decades. The lab email arrived 12 minutes later, a dense stack of data charts and probability calculations that would fuel a firestorm. The familial match pointed to a man serving a sentence for a non-violent burglary in another state. His name was Darren Voss, early 30s. No known connection to Nevada. No known connection to Allison. But the DNA didn't match his fully, only partially, indicating a close relative was the source. A father, a brother, a son. Someone blood-tied to this man had been in Allison's car the night she vanished. Cole felt a chill crawl down his spine. Familial DNA was a dangerous compass. Powerful, but unpredictable. It pointed to a bloodline, not a person. It meant one thing. The perpetrator was out there, somewhere, breathing the same air as everyone else. The hunt began again. Cole and a forensic genealogist dug into the Voss family tree, tracing names, addresses, birth records, and police logs. The deeper they went, the darker the branches became. The Voss family had drifted across western states for decades, a trail of arrests, evictions, and disappearances following them like a curse. But one name stood out. One name wrapped in more shadows than the rest. Elias Voss, born 1967, former truck mechanic. No current address, multiple arrests in the 90s for minor offenses, then a sudden vanishing act from public records. No employment history after 1999, no tax filings, no forwarding address. It was as if he fell off the map the year after Allison disappeared. Cole felt electricity surge through him. Elias was the perfect age, with the perfect timeline, the perfect geographic proximity. But the file showed no convictions that would have required DNA collection, which meant his genetic fingerprint had remained hidden for nearly 3 decades. Cole stared at Elias's grainy mugshot from 1995. Cold eyes, unreadable expression, a predator's stillness. He felt an instinct claw at the back of his mind, a detective's intuition sharpened by years of dead ends. This man knew what happened. Meanwhile, whispers leaked from the lab into the newsroom, and soon the story spread like gasoline catching flame. Major break in Nevada, 1998 cold case. DNA twist sparks new investigation. Shockwaves as forgotten evidence yields match. Headlines multiplied. Phones rang non-stop. The community braced for revelations. The Hartley family collapsed under a mix of hope and dread when investigators knocked on their door again. They had learned long ago that cold case breakthroughs were rarely simple. They often brought pain before answers. Still, the possibility of truth after so many years felt like a tremor in the heart. Cole returned to the turnout that night, standing alone in the dark, listening to the hum of distant traffic echo across the plains. He imagined Allison's final moments, imagined a truck pulling up behind her, imagined a man stepping out with practiced calm. The desert wind brushed past, carrying the taste of dust and old grief. Cole whispered into the emptiness, "We're coming for you." Back at the sheriff's office, the genealogist constructed a chart sprawling 80 years of Voss family lineage. It was a spiderweb of connections, but Elias's branch glowed like a hazard sign. Every vector pointed toward him. Everything narrowed to his absence, his silence, his missing years. Still, no one knew where he was. No property records, no criminal activity, no death certificate. He was a ghost with footprints buried just deep enough to hide. But the DNA didn't lie. It had survived decades of darkness to whisper his name. Cole pursued every scrap of data. Old addresses, DMV records, hospital logs, mail forwarding requests, insurance claims. Most led nowhere. But one hint emerged from a storage facility in southern Oregon, a unit leased in 2002 under a pseudonym linked to the Voss family. The payment stopped years ago. The unit sat frozen in time. Cole felt his heartbeat thundering as he stared at the facility log. He didn't know what he'd find inside, but every instinct screamed that the story was about to turn sharp. He grabbed his keys. He didn't call for backup. He wanted to be the first one there. The evening sky smeared itself into shades of rust and ink as he crossed the state line. The road stretched long and lonely ahead of him, just like the night Allison vanished. Every mile tightened a knot in his chest. He replayed the lab call, the genealogist's warnings, the way the desert had swallowed the truth for so long. When he arrived, the facility's metal doors loomed like sealed vaults guarding secrets no one wanted to hear out loud. The manager had already left the unit unlocked. "Hasn't been opened in over 20 years, he'd said on the phone. "Be careful." Cole gripped the handle. The metal was cold. He lifted the door, and the smell hit him first. Not rot, not death, something worse. A scent that didn't belong in any storage unit. A scent that told him, immediately, that this case was about to explode. The scent rising from the darkness inside the storage unit was sharp, metallic, unnervingly sterile. The smell of industrial cleaner mixed with something older, something that clung to metal shelves and cardboard corners like a memory refusing to fade. It wasn't the stench of decay. It was the stench of erasure, the scent of someone trying far too hard to scrub away a past soaked in danger. Detective Cole froze, breath locked in his chest, because whatever waited inside wasn't normal. It wasn't casual. It was careful, calculated. The air gave off the same feeling as a crime scene disguised as a workshop, the kind of place where truth had been carved out and discarded. He stepped inside slowly, flashlight slicing through dust particles that swirled like ash. The unit wasn't large, 10 feet deep, 8 feet wide, but it felt endless. Metal shelves lined the left wall, stacked with toolboxes, cans of solvent, and coiled extension cords. A tarp hung across the back like a curtain, hiding a stage no one should see. The right side held crates stamped with faded shipping labels, most smudged beyond recognition, but one word cut through the grime. Fragile. A lie. Cole thought. Nothing about this place was fragile. His boots crunched on gravel scattered across the concrete floor. He moved forward inch by inch, hyper-aware of the silence pressing in from all sides. Then he noticed something that made the hairs on his arms rise. The unit wasn't dusty in the places it should have been. A thin layer coated the untouched shelves, but the center floor was swept clean, unnaturally clean, as if someone had stood there repeatedly, pacing, working, preparing. The metallic scent thickened as he approached the tarp. Cole reached for his phone, planning to record the scene, but paused. Instinct told him not to break the silence yet. Not until he knew what he was looking at. He lifted the tarp. Behind it sat a wooden workbench, surface stained with dark rings and faint chemical burns. Tools were arranged with meticulous precision. Pliers, clamps, cutting blades, rolls of electrical tape, a jar of something thick and amber-colored. But sitting dead center was something far worse. An old cassette recorder, the kind sold in the 90s, covered in fingerprints preserved by time and neglect. Cole leaned closer. A tape was still inside. His pulse hammered. He scanned the rest of the shelves. Faded Polaroids were stacked inside a shoebox. He reached for it with shaking hands. The photos inside were of landscapes, remote dirt roads, forest clearings, desert stretches, all marked with red grease pencil X's. None included people. None included Allison. But the intent behind the markings made the room shrink around him. Search points, dump sites, practice grounds? He didn't know. Not yet. He slid open a drawer beneath the bench. Inside were newspaper clippings, yellowed, brittle, smelling of attic rot. He thumbed through them one by one, and with each headline his stomach twisted tighter. Nevada teen still missing. Oregon college student vanishes. Utah hiker disappears without trace. The dates ranged from 1996 to 2003. 7 disappearances, all unsolved. Cole exhaled slowly. This wasn't a storage unit. It was a shrine to vanished lives. He felt the room tilt. He reached for the cassette recorder, but before he touched it, his flashlight beam caught something in the far corner, a small metal lockbox half buried behind paint cans. He crouched, pulled it free, and flipped the latch. Inside was a single object, a car key, old, rusted, scratched, and attached to a brittle paper tag with handwriting faded to near nothing. He could barely make out the letters, but when they clicked into recognition, his breath left him in a rush. Hartley. Cole's throat tightened. It wasn't proof of guilt, not legally, but emotionally, psychologically, it was a sledgehammer. He stared at the key as if it were radiating heat. His hand trembled. 26 years had passed since that key vanished from Allison's ignition. 26 years since her life veered into darkness. Now it was sitting as a box in a storage unit leased by a ghost. He swallowed a curse, forcing his breathing steady. He needed to call this in, needed backup, needed evidence techs, needed a warrant for every property connected to anyone named Voss. But before he moved, he felt the weight of the moment settle on him. Thick, suffocating. This unit held the first real threads of truth in decades. He couldn't walk away until he understood its story. He pressed the recorder's play button. A click. A hiss of static. A low hum as the tape spooled to life. Then a voice, not a scream, not a struggle, but something far more chilling. A man humming. Slow. Tuneless. Aimless. The sound of someone passing time while doing something he shouldn't be doing. Cole's grip tightened until the recorder creaked. The humming continued for 12 seconds, then stopped. A scrape, a thud, something metal. Breathing, steady, practiced. Then the man spoke. Almost done now. Cole felt ice crawl up his spine. He forced himself to keep listening. More shifting, more breathing. Then another phrase. She didn't fight much. Silence, long, heavy. Then the tape ended mid-hum. Cole stood frozen, lungs refusing to move. The recorder felt too light in his hands, too small to contain words capable of cracking open a cold case that had suffocated an entire community. He set it down carefully, as if it were fragile, explosive material. His phone vibrated suddenly, slicing through the tension. He flinched hard. Caller ID, the forensics liaison. He answered with a shaky breath. We've narrowed the profile, the liaison said without preamble. The match is almost certainly paternal. That means Elias Voss is the prime candidate. Cole stared into the dark corner of the storage unit. Do we know if he's alive? He asked. A pause on the line, shuffling papers, then a quiet reply. We don't have a death record, and no trace after 2000. He could be anywhere. Cole looked at the car key again, at the Polaroids, at the clippings, at the tape recorder humming through his skull. He's not a ghost, Cole said. Ghosts don't leave keys behind. He stepped backward out of the unit, reaching for his radio. Evidence teams needed to lock this place down before the night swallowed anything else. But as he crossed into the parking lot, an unease dug into him, a feeling that something wasn't fitting together cleanly. The storage contract started in 2002, but Allison disappeared in 1998. If Elias had her key, he'd kept it with him for 4 years before hiding it here. Why the gap? Why store evidence of a crime instead of destroying it? Why leave a recorder with his voice behind? Serial offenders made trophies, but the silence around Elias was too clean, too absolute, like someone had scrubbed him from existence. The genealogist called minutes later, voice tight and fast. We dug deeper. You're not going to like this. Cole leaned against his car, jaw clenched. What? It's not just Elias missing from the record. Several Voss relatives drop off the map between 1998 and 2005. They stop showing up in tax files, property logs, medical systems, everything. But they aren't dead. What are you saying? I'm saying someone hid them. Someone moved them. Someone erased them. Cole felt the atmosphere shift. His mind raced. If Elias wasn't acting alone, if the family moved like a network rather than individuals, then the case wasn't about one disappearance. It was about something larger, rooted in blood. He thought again about the Polaroids, the X's, the map-like precision, a hunting pattern. His phone buzzed again, the Oregon facility manager, voice trembling. You should know something, the man said. Those units, they only get cleaned when rent is overdue. But this one, someone paid in cash for 20 years. Same amount, same date. Never late, never early. Who paid? No name. Just envelopes dropped through the slot. Cole went silent. A cash stream. A hidden family. A man who vanished. Evidence scattered like breadcrumbs across 3 states. This wasn't a solitary predator. It was a lineage. He closed the storage unit, sealed it with evidence tape, and stepped into the cooling night air. The stars above looked sharp enough to cut. The wind whispered across the asphalt, carrying the same emptiness he'd sensed at the turnout 26 years ago. As he drove back toward Nevada, something gnawed at him. A truth forming in the shadows, not yet clear but undeniably dangerous. Elias Voss was out there. He had taken lives. He had buried his trail in darkness. But he hadn't buried it well enough. And as the highway stretched ahead in a long, unbroken ribbon, Cole realized the worst part. The case wasn't waking up after 26 years. It had never been asleep. The highway folded into the early dawn as Detective Cole crossed back into Nevada, the horizon bleeding from black into bruised purple. The road shimmered beneath him, endless and empty, like it had been waiting all night for someone to carry a truth heavy enough to crack the desert in half. He gripped the wheel until his knuckles whitened, replaying the tape's humming, the scraped words, the casual cruelty that had slithered through that recorder as if the speaker were discussing the weather instead of a life extinguished. The scent of industrial cleaner from the storage unit still clung to his nostrils, a toxin he couldn't escape. By the time he reached the sheriff's office, the building hummed with low tension. A few deputies glanced up as he entered, sensing the storm behind his eyes. He didn't speak to them. He didn't need to. The storage unit had shifted the case's center of gravity, pulled the investigation into a darker orbit. Evidence techs were already en route to Oregon. Analysts were reviewing the Polaroids. A warrant team was preparing background sweeps on every relative of the Voss family traced through the genealogical chart. But none of it felt fast enough. Cole headed straight for the cold case room, its narrow hallway echoing beneath flickering fluorescents. Inside, the old Hartley file lay open on the table like a living wound. Photos, maps, timelines, Everything seemed sharper now, outlined with new malice. He stared at the photo of Allison leaning against her car, smiling softly, unaware of the monster orbiting her future. It made something twist inside him, an ache sharpened by decades of failure. He dropped the lockbox key on the table. It landed with a metallic clink that sliced through the silence. "It's hers," he murmured to himself. "It has to be." He leaned over the file, tracing the timeline from the night she vanished. The gap that haunted him, the 4-year void before the storage unit rental, suddenly felt like an intentional silence, a cooling period, a strategic pause, or maybe something worse, someone relocating, uprooting, changing their hunting ground. He thought of the desert X's on the Polaroids. 7 disappearances, 7 locations, spread across 3 states, too organized for coincidence, too wide for impulse. The pattern was deliberate. He rubbed his temple. "How many victims are buried out there?" he whispered, though the room refused to answer. A soft knock broke the tension. The genealogist, Lena Morris, slid into the doorway, clutching a stack of printouts. Her expression was pale, hollow in places where sleep should have been. "You look like hell," Cole told her. "So do you," she replied, stepping inside. "I've been digging into the Voss lineage all night, and the more I dig, the stranger it gets." Cole motioned for her to continue. "The family splintered in the late 90s. Records indicate relocations across Nevada, Oregon, Idaho, and Washington. But the movement wasn't typical. No job changes, no housing applications, no forwarded mail. They just appeared somewhere new with no trail behind them." "Witness protection?" he asked. "No, that leaves digital fingerprints. This is cleaner. Too clean." Cole frowned. "Someone helping them? Maybe," she said. "But whoever did it didn't leave a signature." She spread the documents across the table. Birth certificates, marriage records, violations, arrests. But staring back at them was the unmistakable truth. The Voss family had been slipping through cracks for decades. Lena leaned in closer. "I found something else. Elias's last known sighting wasn't in 1999 like we thought. A witness in Humboldt County reported seeing him in 2001, working under the table at a body shop. Guess what else happened that year?" Cole flipped a page. Another disappearance. A 19-year-old woman, same age as Allison, same M.O., car left at a turnout. No signs of struggle. Cole inhaled sharply. Why wasn't that connected to him back then? Because no one knew who he was, Lena said. No fingerprints, no DNA, no address. He was a ghost long before the system knew to look. Cole's jaw clenched. Elias had lived in the shadows, hunting across state lines like a predator accustomed to darkness. But the familial DNA had cracked the silence open. Now the monster had a name. The sheriff entered without knocking, his expression carved from granite. Sheriff Wardle was a large man, broad-shouldered, old-school, stubborn as bedrock. He'd inherited the Hartley case years after it froze, and though he respected Cole's obsession, he had learned to temper hope with realism. "You need to hear this," he said, tossing a folder onto the table. "We pulled financial histories linked to the Voss family. None of them have bank accounts, not one, but someone's been sending cash to multiple P.O. boxes for 20 years. Cole opened the folder and felt his stomach twist. The amounts weren't large, but they were consistent. Monthly payments, spread across 4 states. Who's paying them? Cole asked. Wardle shook his head. We can't trace cash, but we know this. The payment stopped 3 months ago. Cole's eyes flicked upward. Why? We don't know. Wardle paused. But killers don't just stop paying their ghosts unless something changes. Lena added softly. What if Elias is dead? Cole stared at the key again. The tape recorder. The erased trails. A dead man couldn't hide this well. A dead man didn't pay for a storage unit for 20 years. A dead man didn't whisper into a recorder as if speaking to himself. He's alive, Cole said. Trust me. Wardle crossed his arms. Then where the hell is he? Cole didn't answer, because the real question that dug its teeth into him wasn't where Elias was now. It was where he had been hiding for 26 years. Hours later, Evidence techs called from the Oregon unit. Cole answered immediately. "We found something else," the tech said, voice unsteady. "Behind the insulation panel on the back wall. Hidden compartment." Cole's pulse spiked. "What's inside?" A long silence. Then, "You need to get here. Now." Cole closed his eyes briefly, then turned to Wardell. "We're flying out." The flight felt endless, the world outside the cabin window sinking into a haze of muted colors. When they arrived, the air in Oregon was colder, denser, carrying the sharp sting of pine needles and rain-soaked dirt. The storage facility sat like a forgotten relic at the edge of town, its rows of metal doors glinting under the gray sky. The tech met them at the entrance, eyes wide. "It's bad," he said simply. Cole stepped inside the unit again. The industrial cleaner smell still hung in the air, but something underneath it, the hidden compartment, reeked of age, dust, and dread. The tech led them behind the insulation panel, where a narrow cavity had been carved out between studs. Inside were 4 objects: a small metal box, a stack of audio cassettes, a rolled map, and a sealed plastic bag containing something pale, fibrous, unmistakable. Cole didn't breathe. The bag contained hair, long, brown, brittle with age. Wardell inhaled sharply. "Jesus." The tech pointed to the metal box. "You should open it." Cole's hands shook as he lifted the lid. Inside were IDs, 7 of them, driver's licenses, student cards, gym memberships, all belonging to young women, all missing persons from the clippings, and one more item beneath them, one that made Cole's vision blur for a moment. A thin silver bracelet engraved with a single letter, A. Alison Hartley's. The room felt suddenly too small, too cold, too alive with the presence of a man who wasn't there, but had left pieces of himself behind like the husks of past lives. Then Wardell unrolled the map. Red X's marked remote locations across Nevada, Oregon, and Idaho. Not 7 this time. 14. Cole stepped back as if struck. Heat flared in his chest. Anger, horror, determination sharpened like a blade. This wasn't a cold case anymore. This was a graveyard waiting to be unearthed. He stared at the map's clustered marks. One location sat farther from the rest, circled twice, as if Elias had returned to it, or lived near it, or wanted someone to find it. Wardell looked at Cole. "That circle, what's there?" Cole took one long breath. "A place the desert swallowed," he said. "A place no one checked in 1998. The tech swallowed. "Should I call in local units?" Cole shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "This one. I need to see myself." He folded the map, pocketed the bracelet, closed the metal box. As he stepped outside, the sky darkened unnaturally, clouds rolling across the sun like a curtain dropping over a stage. The wind hissed through the pines, as if warning him, as if whispering the name of a man who hadn't been seen in 26 years, but whose shadow was suddenly everywhere. Elias Voss, a ghost, a hunter. And somewhere out there, a man watching the world close in. The wind clawed at Cole's jacket as he stepped out of the Oregon facility, the sky above him a dark sheet pulsing with the threat of rain. He still felt the imprint of the silver bracelet in his palm, as if the metal had burned itself into his skin. Alison's initial, the small, delicate A, glimmered faintly whenever the clouds cracked open, just enough to let a thread of light fall through. He closed his fist around it, not willing to let it go. Not now, not ever. The evidence wasn't just proof. It was a pulse. A heartbeat reaching across decades, demanding justice with a voice sharper than any scream. Wardell trailed behind him, boots scraping across gravel. "You sure about chasing that circled site alone?" he asked, voice low, wary. Cole didn't look at him. "You saw the map. You saw the pattern. Elias kept returning to that place, which makes it more dangerous." Wardell countered, stepping closer. "You think a man who hides bodies across 3 states is going to leave a breadcrumb trail without a reason?" Cole stared into the forest beyond the parking lot, the pines twisting like tall, silent witnesses. "Sometimes predators get sloppy, or sentimental, or overconfident. Or they set traps." Cole finally met his eyes. "Exactly. Wardell stiffened. You think the circle is bait? I think it's a message. Cole replied. And I think it's time we read it. That shut Wardell up, but only for a moment. Then I'm coming with you. Cole shook his head. You need to coordinate the grid searches at the other marked sites. We might have 14 victims. Maybe more. We don't get second chances with ground this old. Wardell's face tightened, but he knew Cole was right. And Cole knew Wardell hated knowing it. You radio me every hour, Wardell said finally. If you miss one check-in, I send in a squad. Fine. And Cole? What? Wardell held his stare. Don't go in blind. Cole didn't answer, because the truth sat heavy in his chest. This entire case had been blind from day one. Every step forward felt like navigating a shadow that kept shifting, taunting, leading them closer not to closure, but confrontation. Hours later, Cole was back on the road, driving through a corridor of towering pines that swallowed the late afternoon light. The map lay open on the passenger seat, fluttering with each gust of wind sneaking through the cracked window. The circled location glowed like an omen. Northwest Nevada, near the Black Rock region. Remote. Harsh. Forgotten. A place where the desert didn't just hide things, it buried them. As he drove, the world unfurled with eerie déjà vu. The long, empty stretches, the pale horizon trembling under the heat. The same silence he felt the night he first visited Allison's abandoned car in '98. Time folded on itself, pulling him backward and forward until the years blurred into a single jagged line. His radio crackled. Lena's voice spilled out, tired but sharp. Cole, you on the road? Already halfway to the Black Rock. You should know something, she said. I've been cross-referencing the map with satellite imagery from the early 2000s. The circled location, there used to be a structure there. What kind of structure? A cabin. It was demolished around 2000. Cole gripped the steering wheel harder. Ownership. None recorded. None? Not legally. No. But get this. Utility logs show low-level power usage until the day it was demolished. Someone lived there. Someone stayed off the grid just well enough to slip past inspections. Cole felt a cold line trace down his spine. Elias. Most likely. Who took down the cabin? County orders. Lena replied. They said it was abandoned. Cole gave a humorless laugh. Not abandoned. Vacated. And whoever vacated, Lena said softly, did so right around the time the Voss family stopped receiving their cash payments. Cole's heart thudded once. Hard. He changed patterns. Moved again. That's what I'm thinking. And there's more. You'll want to be careful. That land hasn't been touched in nearly 20 years. No hikers. No campers. Nothing. Perfect place for a graveyard, Cole muttered. Lena hesitated. Perfect place for someone to go back to. They disconnected, leaving the static to dissolve into the hum of the engine. Dusk bled into night as Cole reached the desert edge de Camar. He pulled off the highway, following a dirt track barely visible beneath shifting sand. The tires crunched, echoing in the open air like brittle bones. The desert lay sprawled before him, vast, lonely, ancient. A world that knew how to keep secrets. He parked beside a cluster of boulders, the map trembling in his hand as he matched the terrain to the marked coordinates. The circled site sat less than a mile away. Close enough to walk. Close enough for the darkness to swallow him if he wasn't careful. He pocketed a flashlight, a gun, and Allison's bracelet. The desert seemed to inhale as he stepped onto its surface. Sand whispered beneath his boots, each footfall sending tiny ripples through the quiet. A thin sliver of moon hung overhead, sharp and distant. The air was dry, brittle, holding on to the heat of the day like a fading memory. The closer he walked, the more the atmosphere shifted. It felt denser, heavier, as if he had crossed into a space where the desert itself remembered. Then he saw it. What remained of the cabin? A rectangle of cracked foundation, half buried under sand. Splintered beams jutting from the ground like broken ribs. A rusted metal door lying crooked in the dust. All of it abandoned to time, yet the site hummed with a magnetic pull. a whisper threading through the dark that told Cole this place had mattered. He swept his flashlight over the ruins, and then he saw the footprints. Fresh? Not even a day old. Cole crouched, heart hammering. The prints were deep, wide, unmistakably human, not wind-scraped, not animal-distorted. Someone had been here recently. Someone heavy, someone moving with purpose. He followed them, breath unsteady, the beam of his flashlight carving a narrow tunnel through the dark. The prints led behind the foundation, toward a cluster of jagged rocks forming a natural alcove. Cole slowed. The hair on the back of his neck lifted. He stepped into the alcove, light sweeping across the stone, and stopped dead. Carved into the rock was a symbol, a circle, and inside it, an X, identical to the ones on the Polaroids, bold, deliberate, a marker, a signpost for something buried beneath. He crouched, brushing sand aside with trembling fingers. The ground felt wrong, too soft in places, too uneven. His mind flashed back to the missing women, to Allison's empty car, to the map with 14 red X's. He swallowed hard. He pressed his palm against the earth. Cold. Cole reached for his folding shovel, hands shaking but determined. He dug, each scrape of metal against dirt, a shudder through his bones. Sweat slid down his spine despite the cold desert air. Sand poured aside in steady, silent waves. Then the shovel hit something solid. Cole froze. He knelt, brushing dust away with bare hands, breath quick, ragged. He expected a stone, a board, a container, but what emerged was none of those. It was the corner of a metal drum, old, rusted, buried deep. A second drum sat beside it, and a third. Cole's vision blurred, rage and horror colliding inside him. This wasn't a hunting ground. It was a storage site, a collection. He dug until his hands burned, until the drum tops were fully exposed. He pressed an ear to the metal, knowing he wouldn't hear anything, yet listening anyway. Listening for the ghost of something long gone. Silence answered. He gripped the lid and pried it open with a grunt. The smell hit him like a blow, though it wasn't rot, not after so many years. It was chemical, preserved, cold. Inside lay fabric, bone fragments, something that once held shape, now collapsed under time's weight. A necklace clung to the debris, a small metal charm. Cole's heart cracked. A letter. T. Another missing girl, another life erased. He snapped the lid shut, breath shuddering. His hands shook uncontrollably. The desert felt suddenly alive around him, the silence no longer emptiness, but a roar pressing against his skull. He grabbed his radio, but before he spoke, he felt it. A presence, watching, not close enough to see, not far enough to ignore. His flashlight swept across the darkness behind him, and for one impossible second, a shape. Tall, still, human, half hidden behind a rock ridge. Then gone. Cole spun, gun drawn, heart pounding like a drum. Nothing. No footsteps, no sound, no trace, but the feeling lingered, heavy as a hand on his shoulder. Someone had been here. Someone still was. Elias Voss, alive, and closer than Cole had ever imagined. The desert held its breath as Cole stood frozen beside the unearthed drum, gun raised, eyes scanning the darkness for the shape that had slipped away. The silence was so complete it felt pressurized, as if the air itself was holding him in place, forcing him to listen, to feel, the weight of someone else's presence lingering just beyond the reach of his flashlight. His pulse pounded in his ears, each beat counting the seconds between now and whatever would come next. He steadied his breathing, forcing the tremor from his hand. He had seen someone, a silhouette too tall and too still to be anything but human. Not imagination, not desert mirage. Somewhere out there, in the maze of rock and shadow, Elias Voss was watching him. Cole scanned the ridge again, but the desert had already swallowed the figure whole. No movement, no shifting sand, no crunch of gravel, not even a breeze. It was as if the world had locked into a moment of absolute stillness, waiting for him to make the next move. He backed away from the drums, slow and deliberate, keeping his gun trained on the direction the figure had vanished. His voice, when he raised the radio to his lips, was a controlled rasp. "This is Cole. I need units. Immediate. Sector Delta Black Rock perimeter. Coordinates. Static swallowed the transmission. He froze. He tried again. Dispatch, do you copy? I need... More static. A hiss that crawled under his skin. The signal here was weak, but not this weak. Not dead. Not completely drowned. It felt wrong. Interference didn't feel natural. If Elias had lived out here, he would know where signals dropped, where voices couldn't carry, where help could not reach. Cole lowered the radio slowly, every nerve in his body screaming. He pivoted, keeping his gun up, scanning the dark horizon. The moon dipped behind a cloud, robbing him of what little light he had. For a moment, he felt completely blind. His instincts screamed at him to leave, to get back to the vehicle, to regroup. But another instinct, the one carved into him by decades of chasing ghosts, anchored his feet. He wasn't finished here, not while the ground beneath him still hid more stories. He tightened his grip on the flashlight and angled it into the alcove again. He forced himself back to the drums, past the pounding in his chest. The second drum was smaller, dented along one edge. He dug his fingers under the lid and pried it off with a groan of rusted metal. Inside, wrapped in canvas, something long and rigid sat entombed. He dragged it into the moonlight, pulse thrumming. It wasn't bone. It wasn't cloth. It was wood, splintered at the ends. He unwrapped more of the canvas. A crutch, old, metal-tipped, child-sized. His breath caught. The third drum suddenly loomed like a nightmare beside him, its silhouette trembling in the corner of his vision. He dug around it with frantic hands, sand packed tight from time and weight. It took minutes, agonizing, breathless minutes, before he freed the lid enough to wrench it open. This one held nothing but earth. Soil, packed deep, darker than the surrounding sand. At first glance, it looked empty. Then his hand brushed something hard beneath the surface. A tooth, just one. Small, smooth, milk-white. A child's. Cole stumbled back a step. His throat tightened painfully, a pressure that crawled from his chest into his skull. This wasn't just a gravesite. It was a collection. A museum of lives erased. And Elias had been here, recently. He turned toward the ridge again, searching for the shadow that had watched him. Nothing. But the feeling didn't fade. It deepened. A weight behind him. A presence pressing into the edges of the air. He moved deliberately toward the foundation of the old cabin, scanning for any sign of return tracks, any clue that someone had passed through again. And then he saw it, scraped into the foundation's crumbling concrete, as if carved with a knife not long ago. Not done. The words gouged deep, sharp and uneven, slicing through decades of dust. Cole's breath hitched. This wasn't just a taunt. It was a promise. He stepped back instinctively, but the sand beneath his boot dipped. The ground shifted. For a heartbeat he lost balance, the earth sinking under him like something hollow was giving way. He recovered quickly, dropping to one knee and sweeping the flashlight over the spot. A wooden hatch lay buried under a thin layer of sand. Hidden, but only barely. The air around him thickened. His skin prickled. Every survival instinct screamed at him to stop, to leave, to run. But he grasped the edges of the hatch anyway and pulled. The hinges groaned, coughing up air stale enough to make his stomach tighten. A narrow shaft stretched downward. A ladder disappeared into darkness. The smell was thick, old, metallic. He swallowed the bile rising in his throat. One step, then another. He descended the ladder, the hatch closing above him, sealing him in a coffin of silence. His boots touched dirt. The flashlight shook in his hand as he swept the beam across the underground room. The sight rooted him to the floor. A bunker, small, reinforced, carved with meticulous care. The walls were lined with shelves, hundreds of them, filled with notebooks, tapes, jars containing soil samples, bundles of cloth tied with twine, labeled and dated. A catalogue of lives, a system. A mind organized around unspeakable rituals. In the back corner, A single chair faced an audio recorder identical to the one in the storage unit. A fresh cassette sat inside. Cole approached slowly. When he pressed the play button, the tape hissed to life. Then a voice filled the bunker, soft, calm, horribly familiar. "You shouldn't be here." Cole's blood chilled. The voice wasn't on tape. It was coming from behind him. He spun, gun raised, heart exploding against his ribs. A figure stood at the bottom of the ladder. Tall, gaunt, shoulders slightly hunched, hair grey at the edges, face half hidden by shadows, eyes sharp and unblinking. Elias Voss. Alive. He said nothing at first, just watched Cole with the calm of a man observing an insect caught in a jar. Cole steadied his gun. "Hands where I can see them." Elias didn't move. His mouth twitched. Not a smile. Not yet. Just the ghost of one. "You've been digging," he said softly. His voice was strangely quiet, almost intimate. "You dug up what should have stayed buried. Put your hands up." Cole barked, but Elias only tilted his head, studying Cole with clinical curiosity. "You came alone. That was foolish. I said hands up." Elias lifted them slowly, but not in surrender. More like he was stretching, testing the air, testing the moment, testing Cole's resolve. "You took her," Cole said, voice shaking with fury. "Allison Hartley. And others. 14, maybe more." Elias's eyes glinted. "Names blur when you keep so many." Cole's stomach turned. "Why her? Why any of them?" Elias let out a slow breath. "Quiet places attract quiet people. And quiet people disappear better." Cole tightened his grip. "You're done running." Elias's gaze flicked toward the hatch above. "You think I ran?" Cole hesitated. Elias stepped closer, and Cole raised the gun tighter to center mass. "That's far enough." Elias stopped 3 feet away. "You think you found my graveyard," he murmured, "but you haven't found the field." Cole's voice cracked. "What field?" Elias's eyes narrowed with a hint of amusement. "You'll know soon enough." And then his hand moved. Fast. Too fast. Cole fired. The shot exploded in the confined space, deafening, sending dust raining from the ceiling. Elias staggered, not from a hit, but from the shockwave, then lunged sideways behind a shelf. Cole fired again, wood splintering, jars shattering. Elias vanished deeper into the bunker's shadows. Cole ducked behind the chair, breath ragged, entire body shaking. He could hear Elias moving, boots scraping dirt, breath steady, focused. Hunting. Cole whispered into the radio, even though he knew it wouldn't connect. "Officer needs assistance. Armed suspect. Underground. Coordinates." Static swallowed him whole. Then Elias's voice floated out of the dark. "You came into my home." A clatter of jars on the floor. "You dug where you shouldn't." A footstep behind Cole. "Close." "You've only seen the beginning?" Cole spun, gun raised. The bunker went black. Elias had hit the breaker. Darkness swallowed everything. And in that darkness, Cole heard the unmistakable sound of someone breathing softly. Right behind him. The darkness inside the bunker throbbed like a living thing, swallowing the last trembling echoes of the gunshots. Cole stood with his back against cold concrete, gun raised, chest heaving. But the black around him was absolute. Thick, suffocating, impenetrable. He couldn't see his hand in front of his face, couldn't see the ladder, couldn't see the shelves or the jars or the chair where he'd first heard the voice. But he could hear Elias. That breathing, slow, measured, close enough to feel against the back of his neck. Cole spun toward the sound, firing once. The muzzle flash carved a split-second slice through the darkness, revealing shapes in a violent strobe. Shelves, debris, flicking shadows. But no body. The bullet slammed into wood, sending splinters across the floor. Then silence again. Cole's heart hammered hard enough that it echoed in his ears. He pressed every sense outward, straining for the faintest movement. His flashlight lay somewhere on the dirt, kicked aside when he fired, but he couldn't risk bending down to find it. Not in this darkness. Not with a predator somewhere in the shadows. A whisper slid across the room like a blade. "You fired too quickly, Detective." Cole whipped the gun toward the voice. Nothing. Another whisper, this time from his left. "You panic too easily." Cole pivoted, pulse spiking. His fingers trembled around the grip. "Elias, it's over," he forced out. "You're cornered." A low chuckle crawled up from the dark. "You came into a room I carved with my own hands. You think you're the hunter?" Cole clenched his jaw. "Hands up, now!" Metal scraped the wall somewhere behind him. Cole aimed, ready to fire. But then another sound snapped through the dark. A soft click. Cole froze. A recorder turning on. The room filled with a hiss of static. Then Elias's voice, recorded long ago, floated up from the machine. She didn't scream at first. Cole's stomach tightened. His finger curled on the trigger. Another whisper, this time inches from his right ear. "They rarely do." Cole swung blindly and fired. The flash illuminated a sliver of the bunker, and in that fraction of a second, he saw Elias's face. Pale, hollow, eyes gleaming with something ancient and cold. Then the darkness swallowed him again. Cole backed toward where he remembered the ladder being, one step at a time, gun shaking dangerously. A jar shattered behind him. Another whisper. "You found one of my gardens." Cole's pulse stuttered. "Gardens?" The voice drifted behind him, then beside him, then above him, everywhere and nowhere. "The drums," Elias murmured. "Seeds of memory, planted across states so no one would trace the pattern. But you..." His tone coiled with amusement. "You dug too deep." Cole's hand brushed the ladder. Cold metal grounded him, anchoring him to something real, something solid. He grabbed a rung. Then his wrist was snatched. A hand, bone-thin but iron-strong, closed around him in the dark. Cole grunted, nearly losing his grip on the gun. He swung the weapon wildly, striking something soft. Elias hissed, releasing him just long enough for Cole to scramble up the first rungs. His boot slipped on sand-coated metal, but he pulled himself up, climbing blind, desperate. Below him, the darkness shifted. Something slammed into the ladder. Cole's foot slid off a rung. He caught himself with both hands, elbows screaming. Beneath him, Elias's voice echoed. "You think you can climb your way out?" Cole didn't answer. Didn't breathe. He hauled himself upward, muscles burning, gun clutched tight. Every second felt borrowed. Another impact rattled the ladder. Cole pushed harder. Then something cold wrapped around his ankle. A hand. He kicked violently, heel slamming into bone. Elias grunted and tightened his grip. Cole kicked again, harder, feeling something give. The grip loosened just enough for Cole to yank his leg free and leap upward. His hand found the edge of the hatch. He heaved himself through just as a hand shot upward, fingertips grazing the air inches from his boot. Cole rolled onto the sand, chest heaving, gun up, ready for Elias to follow. But the darkness below stayed still. Then softly, echoing from the bunker, "You can climb out, detective, but you won't leave the desert." Cole backed away from the hatch, reached for a boulder, and shoved it over the opening. The stone slammed down with a dull, final thud, sealing the darkness below. Silence stretched across the desert. Cold air bit the sweat on his skin. His radio crackled weakly. He grabbed it, voice raw. "This is Cole. Dispatch, do you copy?" Static. Then, "Oh, Cole, repeat." He exhaled a shudder of relief. "Officer in need of assistance. Armed suspect on scene. Underground bunker. I've got multiple remains. I need units. Now." The static thinned. "Copy. Sending units." Cole lowered the radio, breath shaking from adrenaline and exhaustion. His vision wavered. The drums, the tooth, the crutch, the hatch. Everything blurred into a single nightmare. And somewhere beneath him, separated only by sand and stone, Elias Voss was waiting. Watching. Breathing. Cole pushed himself to his feet. He couldn't stay here. He swept the desert with his flashlight. Slow, deliberate, methodical. The horizon stretched empty. But the tracks he'd seen earlier, the fresh ones, pointed not toward the bunker, but away from it. Toward the ridgeline where he'd seen the silhouette. Meaning Elias had been outside before entering the hatch. Meaning he hadn't been living down there. Meaning he still had escape routes Cole didn't know. Cole moved quickly, careful but urgent, following the tracks across the sand. They cut a serpentine path through the rocks, weaving between dark shapes that rose like ancient monuments. Half a mile in, something caught the edge of his beam. A campsite. old but not abandoned. A tarp slung between two rocks. Empty water jugs. A fire pit surrounded by footprints. A blanket folded with unsettling neatness. A message etched into the rock with charcoal. "You were too slow then. You are too slow now." Cole swallowed hard. The fire pit's ashes were still warm. He scanned the ground. 2 sets of tracks now. One heavy, one lighter. Smaller, fresh, recent. Someone else had been here. Someone with Elias. Cole followed the smaller tracks. They led toward a narrow canyon. The desert wind moaned through the gap, like a whisper trapped between stone walls. He entered. The canyon swallowed him. The flashlight beam jittered along the stone as he moved deeper, heart pounding with every echoing footstep. The air felt colder here. Thinner. The walls pressed inward like they were listening. Then the tracks stopped, abruptly, in the center of the canyon floor. Cole crouched. The sand around the tracks was disturbed, not by feet, but by something dragged, something heavy, something unwilling. A low hum drifted across the canyon. Cole stood sharply. A tape recorder sat on a rock, waiting for him, a single note pinned beneath it. Press play. His throat tightened. He shouldn't. He knew he shouldn't, but he did. The tape clicked. Elias's voice slithered out, soft and steady. "You're chasing shadows, detective. But I don't want shadows anymore." Cole's pulse quickened. "I want an audience." Cole glanced around the canyon. Empty, silent, breathless. "I want you to witness the next bloom in my garden." Then another voice cut in. Small, trembling. A girl's voice. "Please, someone, help me." Cole froze. The tape ended. The desert exhaled. And in the distance, faint but unmistakable, a scream. The scream tore through the canyon like a blade, slicing the air so sharply that Cole felt it in his bones before his brain could register the sound. It echoed off the stone walls, distorted, multiplied, turning into a chorus of terror that bounced toward him from every direction. For one blistering second, his body froze. Then instincts detonated. He sprinted. Sand exploded under his boots as he charged deeper into the canyon, flashlight jerking wildly across the jagged walls, breath slamming in and out of his chest. Another scream rose, shorter, choked off halfway, like someone's voice was gripped by an unseen hand. The canyon curved sharply, funneling him into a narrow throat of rock. Everything tightened. The air, the silence, his pulse. He reached the bend, skidded around it, and the world opened into a hollow, a natural amphitheater carved by centuries of wind and time, hidden entirely from sight unless you knew exactly where to enter. The moon cast a hard silver glow across the clearing, and in that light Cole saw movement, small, frantic, struggling. A figure, a girl, hands bound, mouth gagged, drag marks in the sand behind her, as if she had been pulled here, desperate, clawing for escape. Her wide eyes found Cole instantly, swelling with terror and hope all at once. She tried to scream again, but the gag crushed her voice into muffled sobs. Cole lunged toward her, but the second he stepped into the clearing, a voice bled down from the rocks above, calm and satisfied. "Careful, detective." Cole spun, gun raised, body electrified. Elias stood on a ledge 10 feet above the clearing, framed against the moonlight like a silhouette cut from the stone itself. His expression was unreadable, his posture relaxed, his hands resting lightly at his sides. Unarmed, yet radiating the unmistakable presence of a predator who believed the world belonged to him. Cole aimed the gun squarely at his chest. "Get down here, now!" Elias didn't move. "You're louder than I expected. Most men get quieter when they see their failures staring back at them." "Get off the rocks!" Cole barked. Elias lifted one finger in a gesture of soft reprimand. "If I take one step down, you'll forget about her." He gestured lazily toward the girl. "And that would be impolite." Cole shifted, positioning himself between Elias and the girl, gun unwavering. "Let her go." Elias tilted his head, touching him. "You don't even know her name." "I don't need to. Names matter," Elias said calmly. "Without them, they're just shapes that fade." His eyes glinted. "Like Allison." Cold rage ignited inside Cole's chest. You don't get to say her name, Elias smirked. But I remember it better than you. I remember everything. He tapped his temple. Every face, every breath, every quiet moment before the world stops moving. Cole felt the canyon walls inch closer. Let the girl go. She came to me, Elias said. Not willingly, of course, but destiny isn't always gentle. Cole took a slow step forward, adjusting his aim. Last warning. Elias spread his arms theatrically. Shoot then. End the hunt. You've wanted that since the moment you found the first drum. A whisper of wind curled through the clearing. Cole exhaled, then fired. The shot cracked like lightning, echoing through the hollow, and hit the rock behind Elias. He'd moved, not jumped, not ducked, but stepped aside with uncanny speed, slipping into shadow like someone who had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Cole fired again, but the bullet shattered harmlessly against stone. Elias's voice drifted like smoke. You're chasing light with darkness behind you. Cole spun, too late. A shape lunged from behind a boulder. Not Elias, someone smaller. A second figure slammed into Cole's legs, knocking him sideways, sending his gun flying across the sand. He rolled hard, grit scraping his palms, vision blurring as a teenage boy, wild-eyed, filthy, face streaked with dust, scrambled toward him with an animalistic hiss. Cole reacted instantly, kicking out, catching the boy in the ribs. The teen snarled, launching himself forward again, fingers clawing at Cole's throat. Cole slammed an elbow into his jaw, twisting, fighting for leverage. The boy was strong, feral, driven by something deeper than fear. Stop! Cole barked, but the boy didn't stop. Didn't hear, didn't think. Above them, Elias laughed, the sound silk smooth and cruel. Children grow into the soil they're raised in, he mused. And mine, mine grow beautifully. Cole managed to get an arm around the boy's neck, holding tight enough to subdue, but not kill. Kid, listen, I'm not here to hurt you. The boy bit his arm, hard. Cole hissed in pain, shoving him aside and scrambling to his feet, searching frantically for his gun. The canyon floor swallowed it somewhere in the dunes of disturbed sand. The girl on the ground whimpered, kicking helplessly. Elias stepped into the full glow of the moon, hands clasped behind his back like a professor about to give a lecture. He's not mine by blood, Elias said conversationally, but by purpose. Every garden needs a caretaker. Every legacy needs hands that will outlive its maker. Cole lunged toward the girl, cutting through the sand, determined to pull her behind cover. But the boy slammed into him again, this time from the side, sending both of them crashing into the canyon wall. Pain shot up Cole's spine. His vision flashed white. Elias's voice descended like a verdict. You're tired, detective. Slower. Rusted with time. Cole shoved the boy back, hard enough to knock him to the ground. The kid scrambled up, panting, ready to attack again, but then froze. A beam of white light cut across the canyon wall. Headlights. Engines. Cole jerked his head toward the canyon entrance. Multiple vehicles. Tires grinding against stone. Radio static snapping through loudspeakers. Sheriff Wardle's voice bellowing, Voss, this is law enforcement. Step away from the rocks. Hands where we can see them. Elias didn't flinch. Cole's pulse surged as deputies poured into the hollow, weapons raised, flashlights burning across the stone. The boy went still, terror flickering across his face for the first time. Wardle's voice thundered again. Step down, Elias. Do it now. Elias inhaled deeply, letting the air fill him like he was savoring the arrival of an audience. Then he smiled. I told you, he said softly to Cole. I wanted witnesses. He stepped backward toward the cliff's edge. Stop! Cole shouted. But Elias didn't stop. He raised one hand in a slow wave, then fell. Not stumbled, not slipped. Fell, willingly, backward into the darkness behind the ledge, swallowed by the canyon's shadow so completely it was as if the earth opened and claimed him. Cole ran, scaling the rock wall with raw adrenaline, reaching the ledge and looking over. Nothing. No body, no movement, no sound of impact. Just a black void yawning beneath the cliffs. Deputies swarmed the rocks. Flashlights stabbed through the darkness, illuminating nothing but gravel and emptiness. Wardle reached the ledge, breath heaving. Where is he? Where the hell? Cole stared into the dark. He planned this. There's an exit, a tunnel, a chute, something. He jumped, Cole. No. Cole's voice was a rasp. He escaped. Wardle looked at him hard, then signaled for search teams to fan out. Deputies secured the girl, tears streaking her dirt-caked face. As medics rushed in, the feral boy was pulled down by 2 officers, thrashing and screaming, breath hitching with panic. The canyon transformed into a blaze of lights, radios, shouting, footsteps, but Cole saw none of it. He watched the darkness below the ledge, heart pounding with a sickening certainty. Elias wasn't dead. He wasn't gone. And as Cole backed away from the cliff's edge, something caught his eye, etched into the rock, fresh and deliberate. A small circle with an X inside. A mark left seconds before he jumped. A promise. A message meant only for him. Not finished. The canyon wind rose, curling around Cole's shoulders like a whisper. And somewhere in the labyrinth beneath the desert skin, Elias Voss breathed. The searchlight sliced the canyon darkness into frantic, trembling pieces, but none of them revealed a body. Deputies rappelled down the cliff, boots scraping the stone, flashlights darting through crevices like nervous insects. Every crevice, every shadowed ledge, every crack in the canyon wall was illuminated, searched, shouted into. Nothing. Not a whisper of movement, not a drop of blood. Elias Voss had fallen from a height that would shatter bone, and yet he was gone, as if the canyon floor had swallowed him whole. Cole remained on the ridge, staring into the void where Elias had disappeared, the night wind clawing at his face. Sweat stung his eyes, dust clung to each breath, but beneath all of it pulsed a deep, furious certainty. The man had not died. Not tonight, not here. Wardle climbed up beside him, breath heavy, face drawn tight with disbelief and exhaustion. We've covered the entire base. Nothing. Not even foot to sole for footprints. There's a tunnel. Cole murmured, voice low, the words scraping from his throat like stone. He didn't jump to die. He jumped to vanish. Wardle looked again over the ledge. We didn't see any caves, because you're looking for what's obvious. Cole lifted his flashlight, angling it across the opposite wall. Elias doesn't use doors. He uses holes, cracks, areas carved out long before we knew they existed. You think he mapped this place? I think he lived in it. The sheriff rubbed a calloused hand across his jaw. We'll need a full geological team. We need dogs, heat sensors, ground-penetrating radar. We need a miracle, Wardell muttered. The canyon responded with silence, thick, ominous, as if it were listening. Down below, deputies moved the rescued girl toward the medics. Cole watched her, her small frame trembling violently under the emergency blanket. Dirt streaked her cheeks, dried blood crusted along her temple. But her eyes were the worst part. Vacant, darkened by fear that went beyond anything she could say. Cole descended the ridge and approached her carefully. A medic stepped aside as Cole crouched down. It's okay, he murmured, though he wasn't sure it was true. You're safe now. Her gaze flicked toward him, shaky, uncertain, but present. Cole softened his voice. What's your name? She worked her jaw under the loosened gag. Swallowed. When she spoke, her words were barely more than air. Mara. Cole nodded. How old are you, Mara? 15, she whispered. Something twisted hot and sharp in Cole's chest. Did he hurt you? Galahad. She hesitated, then shook her head slowly. Not yet. The word yet hit Cole like a hammer. Did he take you from your home? Another shake. Cole's brow furrowed. Then from where? Her gaze drifted toward the canyon entrance. He found me. By the road. Her voice trembled. He told me I was lost. Cole swallowed hard. Did you see anyone else? Anyone helping him? Mara blinked, a flicker of terror spreading across her face. The boy. That boy isn't with him. Cole said gently. He's not hurting you anymore. But Mara shook her head harder now, fear rising like a tide behind her eyes. No, not him. Her voice quivered. Another boy. Cole's breath caught. Describe him. Mara closed her eyes briefly, as if recalling something she wished she could erase. He didn't talk. He just stared. His eyes were wrong. She shuddered. Elias called him the apprentice. Cole stilled. Wardle stepped closer. The kid we found isn't the apprentice. No, Mara whispered. He said the other one. He said the apprentice was ready. Ready. Cole felt that word burrow into his spine. Ready for what? Cole asked. But Mara broke down before she could speak. Her breath hitched, shoulders shaking with sobs she no longer tried to swallow. Get her to the hospital, Cole said quietly. As the medics loaded her, Cole turned to the deputies securing the teenage boy. The kid wasn't feral anymore, just terrified, hollow-faced, confused. He looked nothing like a capable helper, nothing like a second-generation monster, just a boy caught in a nightmare, which meant the real apprentice was still out there. Minutes later, Wardell walked up, expression grim. Team's found something. Cole tightened. Where? Follow me. They crossed the canyon clearing, weaving through officers and equipment until they reached a narrow split in the rock wall, a crack barely 2 feet wide. Enough for a person to slip through sideways, enough for someone lean and practiced to vanish before lights arrived. Wardle pointed his flashlight inside. Found these just a few feet in. 2 items lay on the ground, a length of rope and a hiking boot heel with fresh, clean wear. Cole crouched, picking it up. Dirt scraped the bottom, but the heel was practically new. Wardle crossed his arms. Looks like he prepared this route ahead of time. He didn't prepare it, Cole said, standing. He rehearsed it. They both stared into the dark slit, cold air drifting out in a slow breath that carried a faint scent of dust and something metallic. Wardle exhaled. We'll send a team in. No. Cole said immediately. We need to find where it ends before we send anyone. Wardle raised an eyebrow. You think it's trapped? I think Elias Voss doesn't dig tunnels as exits. He digs them as routes. And routes lead somewhere. Wardle nodded reluctantly. I'll get mapping teams started. Cole moved toward the edge of the clearing again, scanning the canyon walls. The symbol Elias carved near the ledge replayed in his mind. Circle. X. Fresh enough that the stone had barely settled. A signature. A ritual. A final taunt. Not finished. And the more Cole replayed the events of the night, the more something felt off. Elias never panicked, never flailed, never showed fear. Every move had been controlled, even the fall, especially the fall. Cole turned slowly toward Wardle. He staged it. Wardle frowned. Staged what? The escape, the jump, the confrontation, all of it. Cole's heartbeat quickened. He wanted us to find the girl. He wanted us to find the drums. He wanted us to find the boy. And why the hell would he want that? Cole stared into the crack in the rock, feeling the truth assemble like an iron puzzle inside his mind. Because he's not running. Cole whispered. He's relocating. Wardell stiffened. Relocating where? To wherever the apprentice is. Cole said. He's passing the torch. The wind shifted sharply, stirring sand across Cole's boots. Wardle swore under his breath. We need to track every abandoned property within 50 miles. Every cabin, every storage unit, every cave. And Cole, Wardell's voice dropped. Yes, we might not be looking for one man now. Cole understood instantly. A mentor, a successor, a lineage of violence, a garden with new hands tending it. He swallowed hard, staring at the crack Elias had vanished into, the darkness inside alive with possibility and dread. Then we find them both, Cole said, before he finishes what he started. But the desert didn't answer. It simply breathed. And somewhere beneath its ancient skin, through miles of unseen caverns and winding tunnels, Elias Voss continued moving, slow, methodical, unstoppable, toward a future he had been cultivating for decades. Toward the apprentice who waited for him, toward whatever came next. Dawn crept into the desert like a reluctant confession, bleeding pale gold across the jagged canyon walls as if trying to wash away the night before. But the light only made the truth sharper. Deputies formed search grids along the perimeter, while geologists unloaded equipment, their drills and sensors humming like insects waking from cold sleep. The air buzzed with urgency, radio chatter, boot steps, engines. But beneath it all lay a suffocating weight. The steady realization that the man they had chased for 26 years had slipped into the earth like a serpent retreating into a burrow. Cole stood at the canyon's mouth, eyes fixed on the crack Elias had used to escape. The crevice stared back at him, narrow, silent, hungry. A wound in the rock that led into darkness no one had mapped. No one had even known existed. Elias had known. Elias had built entire worlds inside it. Wardle approached with a thermos of coffee, dark rings under his eyes. "You look like you didn't sleep," he said. Cole didn't look at him. "I didn't." Wardle nodded, taking a long drink. "Tunnels are deeper than we thought. Geologists say there's a whole network down there. Lava tubes, collapsed mine shafts, old drainage systems, miles of it." "He's down there somewhere," Cole murmured. "Or already out of it." Wardell sighed. "We put out roadblocks, APBs, pulled highway footage, nothing." "He won't take the highways." "No," Wardell agreed. "He'll move underground until he finds an exit far enough away we'll never connect the tunnels." Cole's jaw tightened. "He's had decades to plan." Wardell hesitated. "What worries me more is the kid." Cole finally turned. "Mara's apprentice. Whoever he is, he's not the teen we picked up. That boy was terrified out of his skull. Barely coherent. And Elias doesn't recruit the unwilling." Cole said. "Not for that role." Wardle exhaled sharply. "Which means there's someone else. Someone groomed, someone capable." Cole looked back at the crack in the canyon wall. "Someone ready." The word settled between them like dust. A deputy jogged up, panting. "Sheriff, we've found something at the North Ridge." Cole and Wardle followed him up a steep trail until they reached a section where the rock wall angled outward like a jaw. Deputies formed a semicircle around a narrow opening barely visible beneath collapsed shale. A crime scene tech crouched beside something on the ground. Something small. A candle. White wax melted down the sides. Wick charred. Fresh. Cole knelt. "How recent?" The tech shook her head. "Still warm." Cole's pulse spiked. "He passed through here." Wardle glanced around, unease shaping every word. "He's leaving markers." Cole stared at the candle. Something ritualistic, intimate, almost reverent. Elias wasn't just fleeing. He was guiding, leading, or worse, inviting. Cole stood. "Clear this debris. I want that tunnel opened now." "On it," a deputy said, calling for pry bars and shovels. As the team worked, Cole stepped away, inhaling the cold desert air as if it might steady him. It didn't. Every bone in his body felt electrified, stretched thin by adrenaline and the knowledge that time was working against them. A soft crunch behind him. He spun. Lena Morris approached, hair pulled back, eyes sharp despite her exhaustion. "He left again," she said, taking in the scene. "He's leaving a trail," Cole replied. "No," Lena said quietly. "He's leaving a path." Cole frowned. "What's the difference?" "A trail is accidental. A path is intentional." She held up a sheet of paper. "And this wasn't left by accident." Cole took the paper. It was a printed photo pulled from an abandoned camera found near the canyon's south end. Grainy, blurred, but unmistakable. A teenage boy, standing beside Elias, smiling faintly, head tilted with eerie familiarity. Cole's fingers tightened around the photo. "He has been training him." "Not just training," Lena said. "Bonding." Cole swallowed. "You ran the boy's face?" "Trying. But facial recognition isn't helping. Angle's bad, resolution low, and there are dozens of missing teens who fit the age range." Cole stared at the photo, gripping it so hard the edges curled. "What about the clothing?" he asked. "Generic," Lena said. "Cheap, not identifiable." She hesitated, then added, "But there's one thing." Cole looked up. Lena pointed at the boy's wrist. "That bracelet. It's handmade. Leather braid decorated with a knot pattern. Not mass-produced. It's specific." "To what?" "A local craft shop," Lena said. "In Winnemucca." Cole's heart thudded once, hard. "How far?" 60 miles, Wardle overheard. "He took his apprentice into town?" "Not recently," Lena said. "Photos old, maybe years." Cole looked again at the canyon, the tunnels, the darkness, the impossible labyrinth. Then at the open desert stretching endlessly beyond it. He raised him somewhere, Cole said. A cabin, a trailer, another bunker, somewhere he felt safe enough to teach. Wardell nodded, and that's where they'll go next. Cole finished. Before anyone could respond, a shout echoed from the ridge. "We've got it open!" Cole and Wardell rushed back. Deputies stepped aside, revealing a narrow opening leading into a slanted tunnel. Cold air drifted out again, a biting, subterranean breath. Cole clicked on a flashlight, the beam piercing the darkness just enough to reveal carved walls, gouged by tools, packed with handholds. Elias had built this, or built onto what nature had created. A passage deep enough to hide in for days, maybe weeks. Cole stepped forward. Wardell caught his arm. "We shouldn't send anyone in blind." Cole didn't look back. "We won't." He turned to the nearest deputy. "Get the dogs." Minutes later, 3 K9 units were brought forward. They sniffed the entrance, fur bristling, growls low and uncertain. Then the lead dog jerked forward, nose to the ground, whining at the tunnel mouth. "He was here," the handler said. "Recently." Cole nodded. "Take them in 20 feet. If it branches, stop." The handlers nodded and entered the tunnel. Cole watched the lights disappear into the earth, swallowed whole. The seconds dragged. Then, "Detective!" a handler shouted. "You'll want to see this." Cole ducked into the tunnel, Wardell behind him. The air grew colder, heavier. They followed the dog team into a chamber just large enough to stand in. At the center lay a small tin box. Cole knelt, flipped it open. Inside was a scrap of paper, folded twice. He unfolded it with shaking hands. 4 words, written in neat, deliberate strokes. "You're almost there." Cole's throat tightened. His pulse hammered. "He's watching us," Wardell said quietly. "No." Cole answered. "He's directing us." "Why? Why lead us this far?" Cole stared at the note. "Because he wants us to find the apprentice," Cole whispered. "He wants us to meet him." Lena, who had followed them in, drew a slow breath. "Why would he want that?" Cole stood, realization cracking through him like thunder. "Because the apprentice isn't ready yet. Elias wants pressure, chaos, fear. A test." Wardell swore. "We're part of his game. We're the final lesson." Cole said grimly. Suddenly the dog nearest the far wall growled, claws scraping the rock. The beam of a flashlight swung over. A series of numbers etched into stone. Coordinates. Fresh. Cole felt his stomach drop. "Wardell," he said. "Get these marked. Now." Lena pulled out her phone, running the numbers. The screen blinked once as the map loaded. Cole watched her face drain of color. "What is it?" he demanded. Lena swallowed. "These coordinates. They point to a town." "What town?" Her voice trembled. "Gerlock, 30 miles from here." Cole stared at her. Gerlock. Small, isolated, quiet. A perfect place. For a new beginning. For a new apprentice. For a new garden. Wardell stepped back out of the tunnel. "We move now. Everyone mounts up." Cole didn't speak. He didn't breathe. He looked back down the tunnel, into the darkness Elias had vanished into, and felt the truth settle like ice in his bones. Elias Foss wasn't fleeing. He was waiting. For them. For what came next. For the final act.